field of phytochemistry with the help of a analytical technique, which is where I'm working, and where we are specializing in, that is high performance thin layer chromatography. So I hope we have a very good session. If you face any voice problems, just let us know. We can accordingly troubleshoot the session. So let us proceed. I will just start sharing my screen. So yeah, I'll go into the presentation mode. So first of all, welcome to all of you. Okay, and in the field of getting knowledge, acquiring knowledge, and understanding things, many of us, we do miss certain parts. So not to worry, we are always present on social media. So anytime you want to search anything related to us or get in contact with us, absolutely you can access all these platforms, where LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube channels and our website is there, and get a direct contact or get your information over there. We have a lot of videos which we are uploading monthly basis, which keeps you updated and also gives you many insights to research work. Today we have a very brief session which will run from around 3 hours, and we'll take a small break of around 5 minutes between the demo session and the presentation session. I'll be presenting first of all the concept. We are here to understand bioautography using HPTLC. So first, for this session, what we have planned is we'll start with understanding the HPTLC system thoroughly, because without a very good chromatography, very good separation, you cannot, get the very good results in the hyphenation part, maybe bioautography, or you want to do an TLCMS investigation, or some other kind of bioactivity assay. So you really need to have a very good chromatography and get a good separation before moving on to the bioautography part. So this session, I'll be pointing out very minutest details. Normally we have a very short window of time span, and we have to explain a lot of things where it goes faster and it goes bouncing. So here, fortunately, we have a good sufficient time slot to explain you even the minutest details, and I will try my best to incorporate my practical knowledge and give to you this practical knowledge which you can readily use for your research work and use it for many troubleshooting. Now, let's start up. And as I told you, you can make these note in your places where you want to have a note of it, the contact details, so that even your researcher mind, it never stops. Today you may have seen something, and incidentally after 15 days you realize that yes, this can be, I don't know whether I had seen or no. So no need to worry about that. Just keep this in contact and definitely drop us a mail. We will be able to help you out with all your queries. Now we also have, I think so, the chat box which is there, and the Q&A box must be also available. I'm not sure about it, but you can drop your questions over that. So we will be taking those questions at the end of this session, and I'll be answering those in the time limit, of course. And those will not be answered, don't worry, we'll directly answer you through the email. So even if your question is not taken up in the session, I will request the organizers to send us those questions, and we'll reply back within 1 week's time. So we generally are, basically, I'll just introduce our company, which is Anchrom, and we are into high performance thin layer chromatography for over 4 decades. We provide a lot of free training to people to make this much more approachable. And for doing your analysis, many a times people always, you may not require a very sophisticated technique to work for your sample. A simple solution works out, and that is why this instrumentation is made such a way that you have the very basic work, and you can do an advanced kind of research work into this set of instrumentation as well, the approach of high performance thin layer chromatography, which gives you a diverse field. And we have free training sessions with mutual convenience. We do that, and you can avail that for getting a thorough knowledge. Now, after finishing off our introduction of Anchrom, let me start with the core concepts of HPTLC. HPTLC stands for High Performance Thin Layer Chromatography. Now, many of you must be knowing about thin layer chromatography, and you must be feeling that only if I use an instrument, then it becomes high performance thin layer chromatography or something like that. But let me clarify to you that HPTLC stands for getting high performance, that is how high output from the routine work which you are doing. So TLC is kind of a routine work which many of us have done, and I will explain you the difference of these two also as and when we move through the slides, because there is a vast difference from both of us, although it's just a suffix which sorry, prefix which is being added over here, that is HP, which stands for high performance, but technically it means a lot many things, a lot the approach is different. And why is this approach important is because when you are going for a research of a high grade level, you want output of a high grade level, you need to have a very good standardization. Now let me show you the evolution of TLC to HPTLC. It started in 1960s, where originally the idea of TLC was a benchtop technique. You had a wide variety at that point of time. You did not have much of a choice. Maybe filter papers used to be there, and silica, some silica handmade plates used to people do, and on that they used to put the spots, get the separation, and that's it. Knowledge was less, the instrumentation was lower at that point of time, and so it was designed to be a benchtop technique, so that anybody could use immediately, could test it and find it out. And the concepts of reproducibility, reliability were not that much of importance, because the analyst used to just test it, get the information, and there the task would be over. Now, as the time evolved, the complexity of analytical research increased, because the complexity has increased. Because why? Today, if you have to do some analysis, maybe from a food matrix or something, it's not just to understand whether I'm getting an addition of a substance, or there is some leaching, or the food is degrading. There are so many complexities. So to identify this, it was getting a little bit of older technique, and that is why people used to go for other technique, and slowly this was used just as an identification test. Slowly what happened is, although this technique was old, but it had the advantages of a low cost, quick analytical solution for many of your research things. And that is why this development started with CAMAG. When it started developing, there were other people also, but CAMAG was dedicatedly focused on developing an instrumentation and bringing back, reviving back this technique, because it is a very beautiful technique. I will show you some examples also, where you will realize that yes, wonderful things can be done, and lot many information as an analytical instrument you can get out of it. So slowly the instrumentation was strengthened in, because the first and foremost problem with this was the variability. Now today also, if you are doing a TLC, you will see a lot of variability. You spot maybe through a capillary, you don't know what amount is going onto the plate, and then you're developing it, the environmental condition is different, and you are getting that variation. So TLC is a very crude technique. It does not have standardization. And in order to incorporate a standardization, the first step was to slowly stop these variations. And how the variation could be stopped was with the implementation of instrumentation. So even today, if you see, you need a particular order of strategy, you will always see that there is an instrumentation always being brought in over here, because with manual things there are chances of variability, you cannot deny that. And so instrumentation plays a very vital role today. Even if in the food industry they are having the production of chips is going on, and they have everything standardized, the temperature, the and this is all taken place with the help of an instrumentation. The machinery is developed so that it maintains everything parameters, and it gives you same reproducible taste, same flavor, everything same, because everything is standardized. And that is what happened with TLC also. Instrumentalization was brought in. Then slowly software control was brought in, because the computers were very preliminary at that stage. I don't know many of you have seen or not, but in the older days there was DOS system, and very big computers were there, and used to, there was no graphic like today we are seeing like that. So slowly as the computers evolved, so the software control start developing. Implementation of GLP was enforced so that you have a particular strategy to do this analysis. It should not be an open platform key, okay, anything is coming, anyhow it is being done. Everything was started being standardized, and slowly with the evolution, from 2010 itself, the standardization was then, but official recognition came in 2016, because the instrumentation got developed into a very large extent, and a total control on instrumentation with the parameters set up after studies was being done, and now it became high performance thin layer chromatography. That is what we talk about, and that is what it is all about. Then came the acceptance to the pharmacopoeial guidelines. You have the United States pharmacopoeia, European pharmacopoeia, Chinese pharmacopoeia. In Indian pharmacopoeia, it is going under revision, but you also are going to have it over there. And many other pharmacopoeia has started adopting this as an official technique for doing analysis. And why should you not, if you can do the analysis at a 1/5 or 1/10 cost? The cost effectiveness is a very important aspect for everybody. And also the cost of solvents, when we used to do our research, we used to get one bottle of 500 ml of a reagent, and that's it. You have to perform your entire research work into that. And so it used to be really challenging if we would require, a technique which requires larger consumption of these chemicals and all. So we used to be really economical, and that is even the prevalent practice today which is going on. And that is a part and parcel of any research work. If you see, you have to be an economical angle, so that you see that you have seen success stories like MOM, that is the mission of Mars, which is very economical solution to a very difficult problem. And that is how the development of HPTLC has come in. And so slowly it also became regulatory compliant. It was already in regulatory compliant, but the rules have got stringent because of the problems which are becoming complex. We all see that slowly the complex problems are getting so complex. It is more complex than what the earlier thing was, and that is why the rules are also made more rigid, so that they do not allow any deviation. And slowly this was also implemented into the software part, which made it the entire regulatory compliant HPTLC system. And today we are happy to announce that in 2019, just before the lockdown, we launched in the robotic, that is our principles launched in the robotic HPTLC system, which will be zero human involvement in the analysis time. So you just have to load the samples and the mobile phase or the derivatizing reagent if required, and that's it. The entire analysis is done without human intervention. The plate and everything, the entire analysis is done totally automated, and that is how it has been developed. So you see how this technique is involved, and that is why it gives you a lot of reliability, peace of mind when you go to HPTLC for doing your routine analysis. So now let us see what is the basic difference between TLC and HPTLC. Now, as I told you, in TLC, what people used to do is we used to take some capillaries, abruptly load some volume. No standardization was there, and we used to see the spots, mark the plate with pencil and the developing front. And even this image taking system is also not there in TLC. You just have to observe and write your results. So many people used to do is they used to make journals, and in that draw the plate, and in the plate they will mark where those spots are. In fact, if you see some older books of chromatography by Egon Stahl, thin layer chromatography by Egon Stahl, a very good book on TLC, it will show you how they have done different analysis, sugars, lipids, and so many different types of complex problems they have solved with thin layer chromatography. And in that they have marked the plate as where the RF positions you will be seeing, a virtual plate or a drawing, handmade drawings like we used to do in our 11th and 12th journals. You have seen we used to draw those all the things the same way. they used to draw the plate and mark where the spots have come. And so it became very much, unreliable, because it depends upon the analyst who is doing. He needs to have some skill. Even after the separation, you are not very happy because you are getting a separation, but you just see, and then you are confused whether it is present or not. Now in the current picture, if I just mark and highlight, you will see that there is a spot. Let me just locate. Yeah, this is the spot which is of my standard, and when I compare it against my sample, you will see that it is coming in this way. So whether this is the spot which the sample has, or it is the lower spot which is there, seeing the intensity, I feel it is lower, but whether it is the same thing, we don't know, because of this variation which is happening. There is no resolution. If I want to see whether these two spots are different or same, or just because I'm getting some intensity increase over here, I cannot rely whether they are separated fractions. So although being doing an experiment of that value, I'm putting so much efforts, what I am expecting is a good result, which I am not getting from this. Now let me show you an example of how the same experiment was done with HPTLC. Now here you see, first of all, that the size of the plate has been reduced. The newer guidelines have recommended the plate development size to be smaller. Now, in the practical front, this reduces two things. One is the solvent cost, and second is the time. Now, both are the important parts of any analysis, and both have been taken care over here. You have seen that the size of the plate is much smaller. Here, typically people used to do, over here, longer plates. Even if you see the older monographs, they have longer developing distances, and so the separation you get only after you develop longer distances. But here the HPTLC plate which is available in the market has got higher number of theoretical plates, that is the capability to resolve compounds because of the smaller particle size, and that is more in HPTLC plate. And so what you get is a good separation of components with the standard and sample over here. Now here you can see that samples which are very closely related are also being seen over here. So you can see they are so near, but still they have a separation. And that is the power of HPTLs. You start getting the separation at a very high quality level. You can estimate it's present in the sample, and it does not end in just observing the plate. You can record this image to have a record of the entire experiment. You can do a next level thing, that is do a quantitative estimation, which was not possible in TLC. Quantitative estimation you can do by generating chromatograms, and you can also then get a lot of data about the quantitative part. So it becomes a total different level. If you see and compare both these types of results, you will understand the difference, and you will feel that yes, definitely this gives you an upper advantage on the current experiment. Now if I tell you that there is some minimal level of instrumentation which is required, as well as you can achieve this without no instrumentation also. But of course, if you want to do standardization, instrumentation is much more advantageous, because it does not allow you to do variations in your result. In manual things, when suppose I tell you to spot, you will feel that okay, I can spot it with a capillary, I can spot one band. But imagine my hand is shaking, and whether I have got a perfect control each and every time, whether I am able to draw the same line of that band. The answer is no, you won't be able to do that. Before best of the best, if you have very high skills, then you may once in a while you may able to do it. But in human nature, we are bound to have variations because of external factors and things like that. And so there are chances of variation which is but natural to occur. So here what you do is you contain that variation, and now you get a very good resolution which you can use for the further investigation. Now, as we have the final process in our mind that we have to do a bioautography study, the important part is to get a good separation, and the importance starts over here. If you don't get a good separation, imagine this plate, if I dip it on the right hand side with which I have done a TLC, if I dip it in a bacterial solution or any other assay, chemical assay effect that analysis which I want to do. If I do such kind of an assay, the thing is, since the compounds are very high quantity, first of all, they may solubilize in the reagent, and that is why I not show you compact bands. And thirdly, what will happen is you may get a big spot over here. You are uncertain whether it is due to this spot or this spot, and the whole experiment is a big failure. You don't get a right output. So in order to get a right output here, you are in absolute control of what component is there in what level. Suppose I get a response over here at a spot, I know that a higher quantity level was present over here, because of which the response is coming. Maybe I'm getting a response over here. So I'm very specific in understanding the location of the compound, which is at the later stage important for doing our analysis. Now, after understanding the importance and understanding the difference, let us go further and quickly see what is happening in HPTLC, which is unlike TLC. So as I told you, the first thing is the plate size. The plate size has been reduced. Mind it, we are not compromising with the resolution. You are getting absolutely, in fact, smaller plates have shown better resolution. There are scientific reasons, because of which one of the reason is the diffusion control. The moment you develop the plate for a longer time, because of the interaction with the solvent for a longer time, the band starts diffusing in all direction, diffusion. And that is contained when you have a shorter distance, because the solvent interaction time is lower, because your development time is lower. So your solvent interaction is lower, and so the diffusion is highly contained. So you can see the resolution is at par with your normal, in fact better than the bigger plates. And that is one aspect which is happening. The solvent consumption you are reducing, that obviously you can see, because a bigger plate will require more quantity of solvent, whereas a smaller plate will require a lower part of the that is half the solvent which is required for the developing. And the important part is more samples, because indirectly you are saving time. Now time, how does it change with the help of these two changes? If the just the size change, whether there is a change in the time, the answer is yes. If you have a bigger plate, you will definitely require much more time to develop. And if you have a smaller plate, you will require a lesser time. And this time is exponentially changes, because if you have a mobile phase that is much more polar, I'm sure you must be knowing the concept about polar and non-polar. So water is an example of polar solvent, and non-polar is your NHane or toluene. So if you have a mobile phase that is towards non-polar, then you will have the development time much lesser. If you have a polar solvent that is towards polar, more water, more methanol and acetonitrile things in your mobile phase, then definitely this will take much more time. So we have seen a drastic increase by 3 times to 4 times. So here, if it takes around 15-20 minutes, there it will exponentially increase by say around 2.5 hours also. So here you are directly minimizing the time point. So these are some of the important aspects when we are converting into HPTLC. Now HPTLC, the size reduction, the sample application, the development, everything is what here I have shown is one part. But actually HPTLC is not just getting this. It is a practice by which you get a very reliable result, very firm results without any variation, and same results each and every time. So let us go further and see what it is all about. So now you see the entire HPTLC system, or the entire HPTLC, what I say, is a group of tasks done in a synchronized and standardized way. So it starts from the first step when you apply. Here you have a modular approach. You don't have as I told you, that the newer generation is being developed, and within the 2021 we have the robotic HPTLC which has come in, and in that 2 modules have already come. That will be a totally automated system. But this, which is much popular, the older generation of HPTLC system currently which is being used at many places, this has got modular aspect. Now there are some advantages of having one entire system and some disadvantages also of that. The disadvantage, basically, as I told you, advantage is that you don't have any manual involvement minimalized over there. But the disadvantage is that if one person is doing or occupying the instrument, he will not be he will be not be able to use the instrument unless that instrument is free. But the modular structure gives you that advantage. So if myself, my colleague, they all want to do analysis simultaneously, he does not have to wait for me and I don't have to wait for him. I will do my application, I will develop the go for the next step, that is development. The moment I finish the development, immediately the applicator is free. My colleague jumps in, he takes a plate, he starts his analysis. And so simultaneously in the same unit time, we 4 or 5 people are doing the work and getting the result with the same set of instrument. So that is one of the advantage of having this in modular. So getting back to the point is that now HPTLC is in a modular format. The first is the applicator part, which does the job of application. Now this application is a very important aspect of HPTLC. With the help of our applicators, uniform distribution of the compound onto the plate is being done. This is very important because when you want the separation to happen, then if the molecule is not uniformly distributed, you will see a zigzag line or some striations happening, and then the separation becomes not that understandable, or the resolution is hampered because of that. So application is one of the important aspects. We use the spray on technology, that is the molecule is sprayed, so the drying time is also minimalized, unlike the typical TLC format where you have to spot and wait till the spot dries and again respot it. So that problem is not there. Instant loading of that compound of higher concentrations is possible on applicator. And typically you cannot just do a simple standard sample application type of work. You can do is micro preparative work. You can do an area application if you have some impurity to be found. I will explain you that example also. That can be also done with the same set of instrument. You do not require a different set of instrument. It is capable to do applications of any kind of sample whatsoever it may be. And the best part is that it does it on a disposable plate, which is aluminum plates, which we normally popularly use, although we recommend glass plates, which give you very good results and reproducible results of your work. In fact, if you are going for validation work or something like that, we recommend strictly to go for glass plates. But nevertheless, if you are going for aluminum plates also, you see the plates are disposable by nature. We generally don't reuse it. If you are suppose non-derivatizing it, and again, as I told you, you want to extract more, maybe that same plate can be pre-washed. The contaminant, the previous development data can be washed away with the help of a development with methanol or whatever in which your sample is soluble, and then activate it, and you can use around 2 to 3 times this plate, reuse it. So that is the biggest advantage, the disposable nature of the plate. So you don't have to worry, the applicator is ready to be used, free from contamination, ready after each and every injection. So if my colleague has finished his application, I don't have to do some flushing or something like that. Immediately I take a fresh plate and immediately I start applying another sample on it. No waiting time, because it has a indigenous system of cleanup and things like that. So that is the first module, that is the applicator. Then we have the developing device, which is a very important aspect of this chromatography, because separation is where the important aspect happens, that is the components get resolved. So you have to concentrate. When we go to the demo session, I'll give you some practical insights also where of this development part, like the mobile phase, what should be your a good mobile phase, how can you develop and things like that. I'll be talking more as we move into the demo part. But right now, coming back to the instrumentation part, you have this developing device which monitors the plate development. Then you have a dedicated humidity control chamber which locks in the humidity percentage. So basically humidity is the amount of moisture which is present. So if you control this, you will get a reproducible result. So that is possible with the help of our humidity control device, and that is present in this developing device. And also it has got an exhaust system, so the fumes can be exhausted. with the help of the same device. So it is doing many jobs at a time, and that is the development part. After that comes the visualizer part, which documents the image. Now you may say that, okay, if I take any particular image, how do you prove that is of the same experiment? So we have a system of plate ID, which I will be showing you in the next slide or in the coming slide, where we tag every plate on the project number or project ID and mention which plate number it is, P1, P2, or P3, some kind of an abbreviation we use. And that is how we tag that this is of the same experiment which has been done. And that gives you utmost surety that yes, this plate was being done and it is being recorded in the visualizer. And the visualizer itself is a very intelligent device. It looks like a very simple, just ordinary camera system, but no, there is a lot of logistics, which logic part which goes into the hardware and the software combined to give you right quality of image. If you see this image, you have some bright and blur spots which are there, but the instrument has a system to effectively take a photograph which can balance your bright as well as dull parts of the brightness of the plate and record it so that they can be used for referencing. Also, there are some tools which we'll be seeing in the demonstration part which can be utilized. So the reason over here is explaining you the modules is, as I again told you, that HPTLC, if you do a good HPTLC, you can be rest assured that the next step of the experiment will be at par. And then we move further with the scanner part, which is the place where you get the chromatograms. These chromatograms are directly actually related to the peaks which you are getting. That each over here you have some bands. These bands are actually getting converted to peaks, and that peaks can be correlated with known concentrations to do quantitative estimations. Also, it has got functions to do like spectral scanning, which is the absorption maxima. So the instrument records an absorption maxima at each and every particular wavelength, where you see the chromatograms from the chromatogram, that is the peaks. You identify a peak and say I want a spectra of that. It will tell you that within this wavelength range, what is the absorption pattern which has, and this absorption pattern is known as the spectral pattern which you see in the scanner. So that is also provided in the scanner. And then finally you have the TLC MS interface. These two are additional information providing equipments. The first one is the MS interface. So now directly from the plate you can send a spot into the mass and get an information. And you have the derivatizer and another instrument known as the bioluminizer, which can be used for your bioactivity estimations, as I told you, bioautography studies. So it is based on a principle of spray, and it just sprays the molecule onto the plate, and then the reagent transfer onto the plate happens. So if the molecule is non-visible or non-UV active, you can simply spray a chemical compound and make it a derivative after the process of derivatization. And then derivatives is similarly appearing compounds that you will be see after that reaction has finished. And so instead of using a chemical compound, if you use a bacterial, say, solution, then you can use it for autobiography study. But normally a dipping technique is much more preferable because it is easily handled by for the bacterial studies. I will also come to that part when we move into the bioautography part. And so these are giving you some additional information, or in certain cases it may become the primary phase where you get the response. You can see everything is standardized, and here also if you see after derivatization there is no smudging and all. So chromatography done in a very standardized way will give you results like this, a very standardized results with no shabby chromatograms, very beautiful separation, and that is what is known as HPTLC. So this, and sorry, I forgot to mention, everything is controlled with this software, which is the Vision Cats, where you record the entire data and also control the equipment. So as I told you, 21 CFR part 11 requires you to have total control on the instrumentation and log details like who is doing what and everything. So that is taken care with the help of this software. Now, before we move on into the other aspects, and suppose you are interested to find out any component which is novel and which is giving you a response, whether you can use HPTLC for quantification of that compound, absolutely yes. The sensitivity is around nanogram to picogram. And how does it materialize? I will tell you. If you prepare a solution of PPB, that is, if you have the sample in, say, grams, then from grams we go to mg, from mg we go to mu g, and from mu g we go to nanogram. So technically 10 raised to 4 we are going downstairs. So that is how you can see if 1000 ppm solution is also there, it can be easily analyzed, or 100 ppm solution is there, it can be easily analyzed. Even if the molecule has fluorescent, we can have at picogram level also. So here, why is the ppm directly not coinciding in the concentration? Because here the amount is absolute value. Once the solution is with the standard is being applied onto the plate, this solution or the solvent part evaporates and you have pure quantity onto the plate. So you can correlate it with the sample and find out at pure quantitative level how much it is present in the sample, and then change it into a percentage format so that you get the result. And this quantitative estimation is done full automatic through the software. You don't have to manually do the calculation or bring it into the Excel, then process it, nothing like that. Directly the software calculates for you and gives you the response. So that is absolutely, this sensitivity takes care of doing analysis at all normal problems which are there and can be analyzed. Then reproducibility is also very high. I told you how this reproducibility comes, because each and every place a standardization is being implemented, and because of which you get very high quality results. Accuracy, precision at the same time is very high, and that is the fully regulatory compliant worldwide. Now the same set of equipment and things are there, so you don't get a variation. In India, if you prepare a methodology, that will be working even in Jordan or some other country, Brazil, everywhere the same set of instrument is there, so they will get the same set of results that is there. Now going ahead, we talked about the separation. We'll just skip this slide, and the concept of fingerprint is very important. um, I thought of including this because uh, the separation pattern is very important in case of bioautography studies. And in order to monitor the results before you can go for the next step, that is going into the process of bioautography, you first need to see the response. And how do you evaluate this response onto the plate? So in fingerprint, normally what we do is we observe for the RF, the color, and the intensities. These are three different aspects which need to be very closely monitored. With the help of the scanner, you can record these things. The RF, of course, the color will not be there in the visualizer, will tell you the color, but the intensity and the RF can be definitely documented. And there you can see that, there is a relationship between the concentration and the efficacy part. I'm sure you must be agreeing to this. And because of which it is very possibility is there that if there is some compound is there, it may be not a potent at a lower quantity, it may be at a higher quantity. So when you are judging any particular a sample for its bioautography studies, you can separate those at a lower volume which is being applied onto the plate and a higher volume, because the faint compounds in higher volume will appear to be more, and there are chances that you might get a response to your estimation. So that is very important, and with the help of these three you can do a RF color intensity. Another advantage of using HPTLC, an important aspect, is that you are 100% accounting for the sample. Now you know what amount of sample is at the top, what is at the top, what is at the bottom, and what is at the middle. So you are seeing 100% of your sample. In case of other types of chromatography, you are not able to see only your interested compound. You can monitor into that, but otherwise what all things are there, you may not be able to monitor simultaneously. And here you can be very specific. So at a time, if I have this plate dipped in a say microbial solution, maybe staphylococcus and things like that, immediately the components which are reacting with that staphylococcus bacteria, I can easily identify it, and at a time I'm screening many fractions or many compounds that are present in that sample. And further, what I can do, suppose this blue color sample is showing an activity, what I can do is I can just isolate it, perform an 2D to say if the molecule is single or if it is a mixture. And then from that you can go for further estimation. That same 2D plate also you can do bioautography studies. So it is very important. I just thought of explaining you this. And also it helps you to see the variation across various samples. So you may be devising a formulation, you may be devising a raw material, or there are different stages at which a product is formed. The initial stage where raw material is there, then the mixing stage is there, then the final stage. So with the help of this fingerprint approach, you can be in total control of understanding how the molecule is transforming. In many cases, we have seen that you have the original molecule, maybe a marker is there, but because of the physiological process, like I have to prepare a decoction of that particular herb, and what I will do is I will heat that herb with water. I will reduce it to a 16 8 part, and from that I will be utilizing that extract as my primary extract. So during this heating process, the changes may be that the metabolite has got transformed into something else, and the original metabolite, maybe berberine, is now not present into that. So this helps you to monitor that at what stage it is. Even in a process of many of you must be knowing, there's a process of purification in the concept of Ayurveda known as Shodhana, that is changing from toxic compounds to non-toxic with the help of some external agent. Normally milk is used, or even mercury or sulfur combinations are used, and that detoxifies. So initially any alkaloid is there, and slowly it is getting neutralized, so that can be monitored. So this gives you a total understanding of how the things are moving further, and thereby now you can take a call that which sample should be my objective to do the autobiography studies, whether I should go in for the raw material, because raw material has the compound, it will definitely show. But when you are making a formulation, whether the formulation is also having the capacity to show the activity, maybe antioxidant activity. You have a cream, maybe some popular cream in the market, and you want to see that it is giving you a good antioxidant activity. L'Oreal and so many brands are there, and all of there will be ladies who are using this, even gents, they are using for detanning themselves. And so these things which are going, and the changes which are happening, that can be easily monitored, and you can take a call that yes, if this compound, my formulation, is giving a response, that means definitely I have an activity and I can claim that. So there, this fingerprint approach is very applicable. Here I have given an example to show you differences between different species, but when I correlate to the studies of bioautography, this materializes to a different angle, which I explained to you right now, and how you can see it at different stages and understand what is happening. Then previously, as I has told you, this slide actually should have come earlier, but as we are moving ahead, we are seeing a understanding that yes, there is a vast difference. These are some of the points what makes it different from the classic TLC. Reproducibly, very well defined validated methods are important. A validation is a very important aspect of any analytical technique to give the analyst assurance that yes, if I use this method, I'll get the response. So that is why the validation is done, and it gives the analyst a thorough assurance that, as I told you, ki, if I run this method, I will be able to estimate what I am looking into or searching into. So that is what is the importance of the validation. And here HPTLC methods are absolutely validated, reliable results are there, and some comparison has been done over here. Now, these we already talked about, simply and fastest and huge data. Yes, data part I would like to highlight over here, that UV visible fluorescence. Now when we are talking for effect directed analysis, this data becomes very significant, because based on this you can make assumption or understand. Like for example, plants with fluorescent compounds they are seeing, they may be probably a flavonoid or maybe a pigment compound. So this gives you a lot of insight in understanding what component will give me a response when I'm formulating. If, for example, I am formulating for a antioxidant activity, flavonoids have got a very good antioxidant activity, and that can be easily extracted, and the formulation can be made. So these kinds of input of understanding what that molecule is comes from a data, large data which you get from HPTS. You understand the UV nature, you understand the visible nature, you understand whether it is fluorescent or not. Visible will tell you whether it is a pigment compound, as I told you. Spectras will tell you how that pattern will look of the component. Derivatization will give you added information, or it may be a basic format, like if components like beta cetosterol, then lupiol, they also come in flavonoids and rutin, but they have to be derivatized for visualization. So derivatization becomes a key tool over there to analyze such components. MS gives you an additional data, the mass to charge ratio that you understand, and the bioautography study, which gives you the ultimate understanding. Now, as we saw how this step of HPTLC is, how the instrumentation was there, how do we practice HPTLC? Is there any, as I told you, it is a very standardized way. So how should we go about for it? Always we use the software activation, that is for starting of the analysis. And before that, I presume we did not write over here, but you have to make your samples ready. Now, whenever you start with some investigation of unknown origin, a literature survey is always giving you an information about that, and that has to be done primarily before going into the actual analysis. You go into the literature and you find out the important aspects of whether the molecule of that plant or your synthetic thing has been already worked upon, or some different angle which you are working on, they have worked upon. Any related HPTLC work or TLC work is present. Any TLC work can be easily converted to HPTLC. You may not worry if you are getting a TLC methodology whether I will be able to do it on HPTLC. Absolutely, it is possible. So a literature review will tell you that okay, such kind of a work is done or not done, or whether I can use some interesting aspects of this research work into my work, so that I get a good response. That has to be first find out. Solubilities are important, concentrations of sample are important, and many of people think that with one experiment I should get the result. That is not the case. A research work is generally involving a multiple group of experiments which you do, and after that you get to know. And I will tell you an example that when we are doing HPTLC, one company we were working for, and it was working for a API which is herbal based, and it cannot be seen under UV, or it did not have visible color also, so we had to derivatize it. But when we were doing that analysis, we observed a typical thing, that after a certain period of time an additional spot was coming. Slowly, after doing many experiments, we got to know that this was happening because an exposure of the air was there. Now, this is a very small observation in case of our experiment, but imagine when the formulation is being prepared at the company level, the mixing happens, batch mixing happens, and there you have exposure to air. the component may be getting oxidized over there, and again it may start generating impurity at that place itself. So this small observation at this chromatographic level was directly very important observation for that final production batch, because otherwise, and and the plus point over here was that when they asked us for the solution, they had come with the same problem, stating that initially we are getting that impurity, but that impurity is getting increased or decreased. We are not able to trace why and how. So we did this experiment, and incidentally this answer came out, and that was very fruitful for them. So you see a small observation which you can see from HPTLC. So multiple of trials are necessary for getting an information for very important grade. And so never expect that with the first experiment itself you will get an observation of it. So going ahead, you first need to do this groundwork about solubility, literature work. Then you go into the software, you activate the software. When we'll go see the demo, we'll see how this analysis programming is being done. And after that, you do the application onto the plate. After the plate has been applied with the help of the instrument or with manual aspect, you go for the next step, that is development. The development is again a standardized format 20. I'll show you the parameters which are involved in it. Image documentation has to be done after each development. This is very mandatory. Most of us feel that it is a very small test, and sometimes we may feel that okay, इसमें तो result नहीं आया तो इसका photo लेने का क्या जरूरत है, और if I have not got the results, why should I take a photo of this particular experiment? But it is very important to even document which has not come, because that will later on tell you that I had done this experiment and this was the problem, so I rejected it. So you should have an answer to that, because of which image documentation is very important aspect of this step. And after that, you go for the densitometric scanning, which is your quantitative aspect. If you are moving into the quantitative aspect, you can do a densitometric scanning, and it actually why it is known as densitometric, because it is directly proportional to the density onto the plate. So there is a phenomenon known as quenching. I will explain you in the coming slides. And because of this, you get a response in your chromatogram. The peak is being generated, and that is how you get the concentration and the response connected with RF value. And with that, you can do a quantitative estimation. And because none of this technique is destructing, so at no stage is your component getting destroyed in some or the other format. So you can take that same plate and go for further investigation, like you can use the TLC MS interface extractor for for extracting that molecule into a vial, and do further investigations like an MS study or an NMR study, IR studies. Or you can do is that you can derivatize the plate to get additional info or primary info. Do at this stage only you can do the bioactivity, that is effect directed analysis, the bioautography study. And then finally, you again document after this process is being completed, so that you have a record that, okay, this was my 10th plate, and of this I have taken the data. Here the separation initial plate was like this. After the extraction I have done, I have got the data like this. And from that, I can estimate that that point of time I had got these 4 bands, and of that, this 4th band I had selected, and that RF was this, it shows fluorescent color. And then later on with the MS, I'm getting an area mass to charge ratio of 308. So from that, you can build up a total investigative procedure. And that is why image documentation after this process is important. And if required, like beta citostrol, they cannot be analyzed before, they have to be derivatized and then scanned. So in that case, you can scan it after derivatization and get the quantitative level. Now, this is some of the advantages. I'll not go into this again, and let us move into the important aspect of understanding regulatory aspect also. Now, today, if you are developing a biological assay, based on HPTLC analysis and you are submitting it, what is the state of that publication, whether it is recognized or unrecognized. So here is the place where I will explain you the regulatory aspect. In the regulation chapter 203, which is for the identification of botanical material, is officially being recognized. You have the methodology of how it has to be done. Then there is a chapter of 202, which is exclusively for identification of fixed oils. Chapter 621 gives you the flexibility to use HPTLC as a qualitative and quantitative estimation. So it is this chapter which allows you to do this bioautography studies and establish a protocol which is validated and submit to authorities stating that I have developed this method, it has been validated, and here is the work. So there it gets your recognition. And finally, there are some additional chapters like the 2251, which is for HPTLC MS in herbals. There is a mixture of synthetic APIs, like you may take a herbal painkiller, the herbal knee joint. For the knee joint, the person has told you you eat this tablet, and incidentally he may be adding diclofenac in that, so that when you eat it you feel, array, I'm getting the response. But that may be not because of the herbal part, but maybe because of synthetic API. And chapter 2251 helps you to identify these kind of mischievous activities, and there you can use the HPTLC MS. Then there is 1064, where parameters are there: European pharmacopoeia, Chinese pharmacopoeia, and WHO, and many other pharmacopoeias have HPTLC. So this is about the regulatory aspect. Now, as I told you, what the regulatory aspect tells is about the entire standardization of this process. Like, you have to have a fixed sample application position. The band length has to be between 6 to 8 millimeters. The distance, the plate size should be 20 by 10, 20 centimeter by 10 centimeter. So 20 is my x-axis, 10 is my y-axis of the plate size, where this is being defined. Then there is chromatography chamber control of vapor saturation. That is done with the help of chamber saturation. Standardized chamber saturation time of 20 minutes is being adopted across all experiments. This can be changed if you validate the method. Suppose you are getting a good separation in 10-minute saturation, you have to validate that experiment. Then you can say and publish that, yes, I have done an experiment where 10-minute saturation is giving me reproducible result. I have done all the validation parameters and I can use that. And then finally, the humidity control, which states that about 33% humidity control should be established. So you should have a well-controlled environment. Now, there may be a chance that initially you may do an experiment and that may be in uncontrolled, but when the final stage of the experiment is there, do adhere to these parameters, which will give you reproducible results after each and every time when you want to do an analysis. Then reproducible drying of developed plate. Now, this is a very important aspect, a very small one, and most of the times I'm not able to go very deep because of the lack of the time. But since we have over here, I will take this opportunity and tell you that drying of the plate is a very small phenomenon in the entire experiment, but it is so influencing that there is a fixed phenomenon. Like, if this is your plate, you need to keep the plate at an angle of 45 and have your air flown at a distance of 15 to 18 centimeters from the distance to which the air has to be passed, and that also a cold stream of air. So this is gives you very good reproducible results, and you get a good drying. Now, the reason for this angle is that generally what happens is, after development, you have the solvent remaining onto the plate, and when you tilt the angle, this minimal solvent which is there tends to drag the compound at the below, which you don't want, because after getting a good separation, you don't want your chromatograms to be shabby. So here what you do is you hold the plate at an angle and allow the airflow to pass over it with a fixed stipulated range, and with the help of that you get a reproducible um, drying. So that is done, excuse me. And then we move forward to the next part, that is post chromatographic derivatization. Post chromatographic derivatization is also equally important. The aspect is very small, but it is highly influencing. Why? Because I am adding a chemical onto the plate, then I am giving some external support to you know to enhance or accelerate the reaction. In many of the case, heat is being given for the reaction to get completed. And when you do this post chromatographic derivatization, you do the heating of the plate after the derivatizing reagent has been sprayed. Now imagine initially if the band is say pink color and you continuously heat on the plate, what will happen at certain point of time, the acid which is there in the reagent or some uh, uh, corrosive reagent which is there, it will start charring the plate and the spots will also get black. And then what will happen is you will not get your inference because the plate has got charred. So you have to avoid that. And the stipulated time, if the protocol says 110 degrees Celsius for 3 minutes, absolutely 110 degrees Celsius has to be maintained for 3 minutes. And that is very important. So reproducible post chromatographic derivatization is also important. Use a stopwatch to accurately monitor the time and record the time for which the derivatization is taking place. With the uh, regularly doing these experiments, you get an hold of this time, and at that point of time you do not require this stopwatch. You easily get to know that okay, I've kept the plate, and you get that biological clock set up where immediately after 3 minutes you can remove the plate. But when you are starting with the experiment and doing such kind of an experiment, when you want to that molecule is you are correlating it after derivatization for your next step, that is the bioautography step, you have to derivatize the plate. And there you have to maintain these conditions like how much time, the reagent composition is proper or not. If you are using a dipping technique, see to it that you dip in one shot and remove the plate. Do not allow your hands to shiver, and do it as smoothly as possible, so that in one shot it should the you should not also place the plate inside for a longer duration. Just dip it and remove it unless and until you have a protocol which states that you dip it for a longer duration. Because when you dip it for a longer duration, the solvent will dissolve the component and you will see the intensity differences. So that is why the post chromatographic derivatization, normally this problem does not happen in the derivatizer, but if you do manual development, these problems may come, which can be solved with manual skill and proper doing of the experiment. So post chromatographic derivatization is an important aspect, and that has to be recorded when you are finally doing an experiment which is of the validation part. Now validated methods will be important when you go for bioautography studies and go for publication. So validation is an important step, and that is why I'm talking about these parameters. Documentation of image chromatograms, as I told you, documentation is must. And these three universal wavelengths which are there across all the globe, it's a universal wavelength. Many of you must be feeling that why only 254, why not 296, because these are universal wavelength standards which are decided across the universe, in fact the world, to have the same wavelength to document the plate. And under these three conditions, that is 254, 366 and white light. And finally, scanning densitometry for quantification. Now here I would like to highlight that if you are going for a particular experiment and you wish to scan the plate, use a glass plate. It will give you a good response. Even if you are using an aluminum plate, it will, but many a times due to manual errors and not, it may give you a variation. So ideally you should go for a glass plate. Use a glass plate for all your quantification purposes. And then finally, yeah, there are your instrument should be validated, that is IQ OQ. Now in terms of any pharmaceutical company or industry, IQ OQ is an important aspect. It tells you that the instrument is perfect in condition and for what purpose you had procured it, that is being justified. So the IQ stands for instrument qualification, OQ stands for operational qualification. So the instrument which you use should be compliant of these two things, so that you are rest assured that the instrument which you have got is of a particular quality. And then finally, system suitability test. Now until now, there was no system suitability test in HPTLC. We only had in other formats of chromatography, but here in HPTLC also we have incorporated system suitability test. This is particularly pertaining to where you have multiple components at a time being investigated, and you can use standards. There is a recent paper by us and Kamag, which we have developed as a universal universal SST mixture, it is known as. And that is a component 8 component mixture. You can use it to simply apply onto the plate and develop it and see whether you are getting the same results. And if there is any variation in the chromatographic condition, the mobile phase has changed, the instrumentation has some other changed, then you will see a variation, and from this SST you can immediately identify whether it is proper or there is some variation. So system suitability is absolutely adopted. Now, when we talk about HPTLC parameters basics, USP chapter 1064, we have seen, I talked about you, I told you that everything is being standardized. And so the parameters which I had spoken over there is visibly seen on your screen. You can see the plate application format. You can see how the band application is preferred over the spot application. You can see how the band length has been optimized to get effective separation, relative humidity, what is the development distance which gives you a good separation without altering the resolution parameter, and the saturation part which is there, that is also how it is affecting the chromatogram that is being seen over here. So everything has been studied and based off that you get the parameters. So as I told you, when you are going for bioautography studies, previous to going for the bioautography part, your HPTLC has to be done with a proper format, so that when you are publishing at a higher impact factor journal, you won't get any rejection. So these all things are very important, an important aspect of bioautography studies. Now there's a small glimpse of the next generation equipment. I will just play that and then we can move on. These are the two modules which has been right now in the robotic HPTLC system, and let us see a glimpse of that. So you will be hearing our director's voice who has shot this at our facility, and there are other modules also which are being coming in, and due to COVID a slight delay is there, but more or less an entire automated aspect is there, robotic HPTLC.
We'll probably change to after, not now.
So the last track on the plate has been applied, track number 15.
Yeah.
Now the needle has gone for rinsing. The plate is now finished. You can see the plate is coming out. It is moved to the transport automatically. And now it will be fed into the developing chamber.
It's asking for the second plate.
And the second plate is also going in. So you can see the automation. We are doing two analyses back to back. So the second plate will now start being applied while the first plate is being developed. So there is a fresh plate being applied now and our older plate being developed in this chamber. So that's the automation.
Okay, so this was the next generation equipment which is coming in, and here you saw that how more control over this chromatography is being achieved. Now when we move further, these are some strategies. Now this is about sample preparation, an important aspect of doing bioautography studies. As I told you, concentration is an important aspect. At the same time, you need to have the sample preparation simpler. If I have something to investigate, I'm developing a methodology. If you make it more critical, it is not adopted by industries to screen in samples and things like that. So it has to be made extremely simple, easy to do. And as HPTLC plates, it can tolerate of high matrix. Now, as you know, in the earlier part of the session or the plate, I had shown you one image where I told you that 100% of sample is being seen, what is there at the bottom, what is there at the top, and what is at the center. The HPTLC, if I have in my sample unwanted matrix also, max it will be stuck up at the bottom, and so it won't be able to you're not worried because your molecule which is of your interest will be coming out with a desired mobile phase. So that is one of the better aspects which HPTLC has. And here what we do is, that is why a simple method for preparation samples have been used in methanol. Now, if you're going for bioautography studies, especially antimicrobial, here is an important aspect that methanol by itself is cytotoxic. So if you prepare a sample in methanol, the component which will be coming out may be having a antimicrobial activity by default because of the methanol. Also, the plate has to be dried after the development so that the solvent components are removed. And so preparing a sample for a antioxidant activity, it can be a very important aspect. So you can choose a wise solvent which is there for preparing your sample. Normally for qualitative and quantitative estimations, methanol is preferred over other solvents because most amount of substances get dissolved in methanol as compared to other uh, solvents. So methanol is being taken with a simple ratio of 100 mg in 1 ml and then nicely centrifuged. Then you take the supernatant and then you simply directly go and apply onto the plate. And that is a very simple process. So it becomes very simple, economic and fast. So you can screen multiple of your samples. And as I told you, all the fractions are getting separated. So if you get a response, you will be immediately knowing that which fraction is giving you a response. That is the beauty of using HPTLC with bioautography. These are the applicators which gives you a good application. I'll not go into this, but the important aspect is precise and accurate volume of components onto the plate. That is very much important for you to establish quantitative relation when you are correlating it with the bioautography. Because if the component is not, you cannot correlate it with quantitative, that so much nanogram is giving me this response. So if I want to give it in mice, I will have at least have to increase it in this much concentration to get a response. So that is very much important, and because of which the precise and accurate quantity of the sample should be known, and that is achieved with the R sets of applicator. Next, we move different aspects in which you can do bioautography studies. Like the first one is a simple approach where standard and sample is applied onto the same plate and being seen for the development part. After development, now what you do is you take the plate and dip it into an antimicrobial, in a microbial culture broth. And from that you remove, allow it to stand for some time, that is known as the incubation period. And after that you see the zone of inhibition. From that you can identify that what is my zone of inhibition and where that how is the microbial compound acting. So antimicrobial compound acting. So this is a direct approach where you can have a positive control, that is a standard, maybe gallic acid or something like that, and see its response against the unknown which is there, and try to correlate and establish that yes, this much of component may be giving me a response. So that is a quantitative type of correlation. The in situ cleanup is very interesting. I have a medicated oil and I want to check whether it can give me a antimicrobial activity, and especially the medicated part which is there, whether it will be showing an antimicrobial activity. So what I do, I simply take that sample, dilute it in N-hexane ethyl acetate, develop it onto the plate at the center. Now I use after I prepared the sample, apply it in the center of the plate, take petroleum ether, develop it. After developing with petroleum ether, all the components of the oil will go up and it will reside over here. You simply cut the plate over here, tilt the plate by 180-degree, and then you have another mobile phase, develop it, and now you take this plate, dip it in an microbial culture and see whether you are getting an antimicrobial activity. Similarly, we can go for the micropreparative isolation, and for this micropreparative isolation also, here it is a very important aspect. Once you have got an response in your preliminary separation part, you can run a bigger plate, develop isolate that spot and go for investigation further. So a single spot can be applied over a large band, so more quantity is being applied, develop it, and then if your spot is over here, simply cut it over here, or using a TLC MS extractor, extract it, and then you can do further investigation and do components like MIC and things like that to establish an exact quantity of response which the molecule has to a bacterial infection. And then you have the superimpose methodology, where you put an internal standard. So this can be like a positive control and a negative control you have and the sample. So you can do like that with the help of a superimpose. You add a substance which is having a positive response, maybe as I told you, gallic acid, berberine, beta-sitosterol. These components can be added into the sample, and so that you get to know that, okay, this response is coming. So the assay is working. There is no problem with the assay, but my sample may or may not be having the activity. So that can be also done, and this happens with all the our applicators. Next, we move into the development part. In the development part, the important aspect is uh, okay. So now what we'll do is we'll take a break of 5 minutes and exactly resume at 13:30 with the session. All of you can go for a bio break. Santosh sir, are we allowed to have a break of 5 minutes?
Yeah, no problem, sir. No problem.
Yeah. So I would request everybody to have a break of 5 minutes, and then we'll again resume at around 1:30. Also, see you sharp at 1:30.
Sir, thanks a lot for detailed session.
Yes, sir. Sorry, I missed
Yeah,
you.
thanks a lot for a detailed session, sir.
No problem, sir.
So you have shown that robotic video you have shown about the HPTLC. Any price has been fixed for that, sir?
Sir, price, because we are awaiting two more modules which are there. Uh, Price they have for individual modules right now. I'm not sure whether complete system pricing they have, but definitely pricing has been fixed. By this March, that is 2022 March, we'll be having another two more modules over there. One will be the plate storage, and the other one will be derivatizing module. So that should be, quite a holistic approach, right from application development, then derivatization, and yeah. So at that time, it is a much more complete system. But
Because
price is there, definitely price has been fixed. The sales people can definitely tell about it more.
yes,
Yeah.
because last time Akshay sir has shown the video in the Bharati.
Okay.
There was
Okay.
a conference, SFPC conference. I had attended
Okay.
that. At that time, he was telling that price is not yet fixed.
Right.
Yes. There are a few questions posted that we will take at the end of the session, sir.
Sure, sir. Sure. No problems. Okay.
And how is the current situation in Mumbai now?
Pretty much well. We
Right.
all are following some social distancing. Since I'm speaking, that is why I remove my mask. But otherwise, we all, wear mask, sanitize our hands, and all maintaining, performa, because in Mumbai, though, we cannot stop. Uh, Anything happens. Even during lockdown, we were down for around 2-3 months, but then we resumed, and since then we are working. Second lockdown, we stopped for only I think so 1 month max, and the first lockdown we were shut for around 2 months. That's it. But that is how we have been working, and maintaining distance. Few of our team members got infected, but by God's grace they came out of it and are all fit and fine to work. So taking necessary precautions and moving ahead, that's it. No other option.
Used to the situation, used to the situation.
Used to the situation, absolutely. Okay, so we'll say it's 30. Yeah, welcome back all participants. We are resuming the session. Now, as I was talking about the chromatographic isocratic development, chromatogram isocratic development, here we have some actually part of this has isocratic and part of it is gradient. So development is an important aspect. As I told you, preparation of mobile phase. When you have multi-component mobile phase, you should mix them in ratio. See to it that they are miscible, they are not immiscible. Only one mobile phase which is reported in the literature, which is N-butanol acetic acid water, which is immiscible at a certain ratio, but the requirement over there is acidified N-butanol. So in that case, except for that, many other mobile phases you have to see the miscibility is there. Many of us do the error is that we keep the ammonia and glacial acetic acid open and outside also. If the temperature changes, the chances of them to become water are very much there. As ammonia, if it evaporates, it becomes water. So then you take it into a mobile phase, it will become immiscible or it will not give you a proper response. So see to it that such components of mobile phase when you are using, they are fresh and stocked in cool, dry places and not exposed to heat or conditions like that. Also, important is the mixing, the ratio that has to be perfect. There can be changes of around 1 ml or 2 ml at the max. but I recommend always to prepare mobile phases with pipettes. If you are using pipette and cylinder, don't do that. Either use the cylinder, measuring cylinder for preparing the mobile phase, or you use a pipette for preparing the mobile phase. And for both all the components, use solvents that are of good grade, minimum AR grade. Otherwise, if you have lower impurity, they will have if lower quality solvents are being used, they will have their own impurity, and they will subject to give you interference in your research work. So things like this have to be kept in mind. And generally, even the development is very standardized. We'll see it in the demo session in much detail. The twin trough chamber design reduces the amount of solvent which is there, and it also facilitates in providing a saturation of 20 minutes. So you should have a filter paper. Normally we use a Wattman number filter paper. Now the Wattman number 1 is specifically used because of its property of being inert. It does not have any fluorescence compound. If you take normal paper or normal filter paper, it will have fluorescent compounds. If you see under UV, you will see a lot of fluorescence into it. So you do not have to use such kind of a filter paper. Take a UV inert filter paper so that it does not interfere in your analysis, and use it for saturating the compound, saturating the chamber for a longer time. Cut it in a fixed dimension, and you can dry and reuse this paper if you are using the same solvent. But if you are changing the solvent, just change the paper, and this can be used effectively. So like that, we can go ahead with the development part. And as you see the instrumentation we have seen earlier, this is the twin trough chamber where we manually develop the plate. We place it at an angle. We'll see that in the demo part. And then we observe the plate for the development. And once the development plate, the front, the marking at which the plate has been marked for developing the plate, when it has reached, if you remove the plate and then dry, and then use it for your further investigation process and observe the results under the UV and scanner. And then finally you have the ADC2. As I told you, it is again USP compliant, so total you have absolute control over the development stage. These are the following features which help you, give you total control over the development. 2D, which I earlier was talking, here we see an example of how a 2D looks, and this is how you perform it. You apply it at a spot, at a corner, and you develop once in one direction and the second in other direction. And if it is unstable, you will see spots around, whereas if the molecules are stable, it will be along the line. So here is an example of 2D chromatography. You have gradient development, which can be also used, or you can use multiple development. So here you change the mobile phase from the earlier background. So initially, if you are using a composition of toluene ethyl acetate, excuse me, then you can use another composition of chloroform methanol, or dichloromethane ethanol. Normally chloroform is avoided because of the issues, so it is not preferred. But you can, if you're using some other mobile phase of other polarity in butanol, acetic acid and water on the same sample, then you can do it with the help of multiple development. So first you develop it with a, I'll just go back this slide so you can see how it works. So you see, each time you are developing it with a different solvent, so you can practically change the polarity of the solvent and check. It should be in one direction, either non-polar to polar or polar to non-polar, depending upon the sample and your requirement. And then you can do multiple developments to get separation. These are some of the examples of phospholipids. And from skin, they have quantified ceratamides, cholesterol and fatty acids after an experiment of ointment was being done. So after, the company claim was that it used to stabilize it used to have an antioxidant cream. So in the antioxidant, what will happen is that it will not deviate, and that is why you will get a similar kind of response into that. Uh, just a second, I'm getting a technical disturbance. I'll just mute myself. Yeah, sorry about that disturbance. And here we see that after that experiment was being done, that the cream was applied onto the screen, and whether any changes are happening onto the skin, that is being monitored over here. So that is done with the help of AMD, that is multiple development device. And this is how you can also do it manually by developing it in another mobile phase, but you have to dry the plate after each development. So that is very much important. Then you have the image. Now, as I told you, quenching I was talking about, and I told you later on in a slide I will explain you what is the phenomenon. So quenching is a term which is used when the background is fluorescent over here. That in greenish fluorescence is because of the binder that is being added onto the plate, and you have dark spots which are actually absorbing the light. It is not reflecting the light. This process is known as quenching. And here you can see that under 254 you see many components which are UV active will show you this phenomenon of quenching, from which it can be identified. Also, in fluorescence, what happens is the plate background is dark and the spots are bright. So here you have fluorescent compounds which are there, and from that you can identify if the spot is having any fluorescent nature of it. So that gives you a fluorescent type of investigation. And finally, you have a visible, where in the white light how the separation pattern looks, that can be seen. Now this is specifically a plate that is being derivatized, and because of derivatization you can see multiple color spots. Here is a purple spot over here, and similarly you can see separation over here. If you use different reagent you will see different colors. Like for alkaloids we use drag and drop reagent. For sugars you have ADP, adenine diphosphate, and things like that. So this kind of a image documentation is a very powerful tool. We'll see more glimpse in the software part of how this image is being acquired and how the processing of this image happens. So this is very important aspect of the chromatogram. In our equipments you have a plate correction phenomenon, so the light is uniform and there is no variation of the intensity. Now you see everywhere standardization is being implemented to give you the highest quality results that are there, and that is why I was talking about HPTLC. This is a standardized approach, and here also if you see, the instrumentation is designed in such a way that the light is being throughout emitted in the same same exposure level, and uniform separation pattern can be seen. Okay, so this is the image correction. Then you have multiple samples, example curcuma, and here is this is the function of the software along with the image captured. So this is very interesting aspect. Like if you have done some bioautography studies of a formulation and you have gone for the production level of that formulation, and you are monitoring the formulation after several steps, here is a process by which you can do it easily. This is not any manual plate that is being painted or pictured. This is through the software. The analysis done at different time points have been done, and that is being image documented over here, with the help of which you can compare the sample analysis at different time points and get to know where the sample and standard lies. So this is an important aspect to monitor how the separation pattern is behaving. So there is also screening of unknown plant extracts. Now here slowly we are moving into the bioautography part, and here you can see although the separation has happened, but due to diffusion. So this is what I was talking about. If we are not very well equipped with the dipping technique, this problem may arise and you may see a dragging effect. So make that dipping in one shot, just dip it and remove it, and you will see good uh, response out of it. So here the same sample, whatever happens in your HPTLC goes into your assessment at bioautographic level, and here they have analyzed it with different reagents like the AS. This is a part of a 20 by 10 plate. It has been cut, and after cutting it has been seen dipped in various derivatizing reagents where it is being observed. So this is how it is being done. Then we come to the next part, that is the evaluation. This is the output, the chromatograms, the UV spectra, the linearities, and the 3D view. So this also gives you a lot of information, ranges from 190 to 900 nanometers. This is the principle. So the light is being reflected and part of the light is going directly. So this minus this response will be actually your molecule response. The spectra which I was talking about is this. This is about how a spectra looks. So if you have a spectra of multiple components, you will see a range from 190 to 390 nanometers. And in this, you will be having this spectra pattern. Based on this, this is an absorption pattern of the molecule. So in the previous slide, if this is my peak and I want to just take the spectra of one peak, that is this one. Sorry, I'm very bad at drawing. I'm trying to, yep. So if I'm going for this peak, then I can get a spectra of that and find out what is the pattern. And based on this pattern, I can compare it with my sample and get to know. So at preliminary level only, you are a bit getting a more accurate result. Many a times you may get a co-eluting peak. I think so we have that example also. Let me see. No, I don't have. But there were, if they are co-eluting peaks and you may feel it is the same substance, but with the spectra you can identify it is two different substance. That may give you an insight, because in certain aspect you dip the plate in for bioautography studies and then you find out it is giving you a peak, but the sample does not show, or the sample may be showing the peak but the standard does not show. So it necessarily may not be the same substance. So with the help of this spectrum analysis, you can find out that. This is again an example of the same. Purity and identity are some of the functions. Multi-wavelength scan. This is an important aspect of doing HPTLC analysis before moving into bioautography. Some components may be sensitive to lower UV range, that is 200, 190. Some may be at a higher UV range. So you can scan the plate at different wavelengths so that the hidden bands which are there, that can be traced. For example, I'm not able to see a spot in 254, but when I'm going for the autobiography study, I'm getting some spot over there. To scan the plate at 200 nanometers, and definitely you should find some peak over there which may be lower UV sensitive, and because of which that activity is coming. So that is possible with HPTLC, and you can use this tool intelligently to trace out and detect materials which are not directly shown. Then the quantification of THC, this is tetrahydrocannabinoids, and here we have shown an example. The molecule is not visible in UV, but as we are scanning at a very low UV wavelength 210, we are getting a response over there, and from that we can identify. So this can be effectively used. Post chromatographic derivatization, Camac plate heater is one of the equipments which is present, and that ensures that the heating is uniform. So devices like this can be incorporated in your studies for derivatization reagent. As I told you, after derivatization, heating is also an important aspect. So if you don't have a proper equipment, like we had experience with one of the pharma companies where they were using an oven to heat the plate, and what used to happen, they set the temperature at 180 because the molecule required 180 temperature to be detected, but the temperature used to shoot up to 200, 300, and because of which the molecule used to evaporate and they were not able to see. So then we figured it out, and when we did it on an equipment which was controlled, that is the TLC plate heater, we got a very good result. So temperature again is a very important aspect. This is the derivatizer, which is spraying the reagents and in a sprinkle form. We'll see more when we go for the demo part. And this sprinkles the molecule in very fine mist so that you have a uniform distribution onto the plate. It settles down onto the plate due to gravity, and then after certain time point, it will extract, that is, it will suck out the remaining fumes that are there. It has got a cleaning system which clears the reagent, and finally you have a clear air which is coming outside. So this is a derivatizer comprising of a fume hood, and the reagent consumption is just 2 ml, 3 to 4 ml, that is the max which is required for a plate, and that is what makes this a lot of cost effective. So here is an example of investigation, and this is very interesting. Many of you who are doing phytochemical investigation, you can see that initially you can screen the sample at different class of compounds, which is known as, this is derived from your plant drug analysis Wagner, and high performance of thin layer chromatography by medicinal plants by Dr. Ike, who is also presently our laboratory head at CAMAG. So you can derivatize selective compounds and investigate that what class of compound is relating to this autobiography study, that antimicrobial activity or antioxidant activity, why it is coming. You can find out, you can correlate it with what class it may be. Maybe it may be a phenol, it may be a glycoside. So you can combine this kind of a study along with that to get an input. Next is the TLC MS interface. Here you have the interface which is there, which is present, and it can be used at different places. This is how it works. You can place the plate, directly extract, send into the mass. So after you have discovered the molecule, you can characterize it by directly picking up the spots, sending into the mass, and finding out what the mass is. But as I told you, you have to ensure that it is a single spot, because mass is a sensitive detector. It needs to condition that what you are sending into the sample is in a pure form. So you can do a 2D chromatography initially and find out, and then you can do a mass estimation, or you can extract it into a vial or inject it through a LCMS system, or if you are sure about its origin, direct compound elution into the mass, like APIs and all are purified substances. So there you don't require this purification which is required, and directly that molecule can be sent into the mass to find out its identity. So that is quite possible. This is how it works. There is a head, it sits onto the plate. The solvent dilutes the component, extracts it, and sends it into the mass. So a lot of use can be done of the HPTLC MS. You have also the regulatory aspect which is there, and many other examples are there. Now we move into the bioautographic part, and the first part is explaining you about a normal phenomenon of detecting toxicity. So this is the first experiment. It is you require this bioluminizer for this experiment. It is an image capturing device exclusively designed to capture light of very low output. So normally, if you know the phenomenon of bioluminescence, it is a very faint phenomenon. It is not a bulb or a tube light, like it will give you a very bright light, but it's a very faint light. At homes, you must have seen that during our childhood or somewhere across, you must have come across that you have those stars and things which glow at night. You have stickers which absorb the light, and at the night, if you see, you will see very faint fluorescent kind of image that is being seen. That is a type of how bioluminescence light is, and that is very low. So in order to capture that, this exclusive device has been devised and prepared, and this takes light at very faint luminescence. And with the help of this, what has been clubbed in is this bacteria which is there, Ali vibrio fischeri. It is a bacteria which has got natural fluorescence by itself. So when what you do is you take your plate, you develop it, and now you prepare a culture broth of this of the Vibrio fishery. You have to prepare the media. You have to what you say, there's a phenomenon in microbiology, decontaminated with the help of um, I'm not able to recollect it, but there's a phenomenon, autoclave. Yeah, autoclave the media in order to disinfectant it. Then you have to add the bacterial culture into that, allow it to grow for around 3 hours. Then you take that culture, you pour it into a chamber. Now take your developed plate, dip it into the chamber and remove it. Now if the bacteria dies, like here you're seeing the dark spots because the bacteria is dead, you cannot see fluorescence. But where the bacteria is alive, you can see where there is a bright fluorescence. Similarly, if it is enhancing the bacterial growth, that will be seen in the next experiment. I have put a photo. Let me just check. No, it's not there, but let it be. There was an image with me where apple juice was being tested for such toxicity. And in one place, one of the apple juice was so very well pasteurized and preserved that it was actually enhancing the growth. It was acting as a media. So that also can be found out. So it is typically toxicity detecting technology with the help of bioactivity. Now using bioactivity into determining conclusions is a very interesting aspect, and that is where the whole concept of bioautography has developed. You use biological related detection methodologies to detect component. Now they may not be directly your bacteria, but they can be derivatives like enzymes from the bacteria or certain proteins from bacteria, which can be reacted with the plate and it can be seen. I have very good slides on this. I will, as we proceed, we'll see that. And such that this is the concept of autobiography. Now you have, you can do in toxicity of water, any material, and many other things can be tested for toxicity with the help of this technology. Very simple and very effective. And immediately, in fact, I think so in Germany, they are already using this technique to check the water which is being supplied for toxicity determination. And another example is bioactivity of marine sponges. We'll go to it in a bit later. This is a standard assembly of how it is required. You have an applicator, a gradient development visualizer, and then you have an immersion device where you dip the plate after the development is being done and do the bioassay and get an investigation. So you can screen many samples. There are many assays. I'll just go ahead. I think so I have missed a certain part. Yeah. So before going into the bioactivity deep, let me just finish off the other part, which is some of the examples. So as I told you, manufacturing steps you can check, and quality control can be done. Method development and validation. These are the places where HPTLC becomes a very handy tool for doing your developing protocols for performing analysis, and the cost is very low. You can do a validation on HPTLC system with all the standard ICH parameters, absolutely no issue. Yeah, and now because it is applicable to all field, you can do a pharmaceutical investigation, you can do a herbal investigation, you can do a food adulteration, uh, food technology testing, and many other fields where HPTLC can be with the same set of instruments you can apply. Literature is quite there. I'll show you some other books also when we go into the demo part. And now let us move on to the bioautography part. So the earlier which I taught you, I showed you was a complete HPTLC kind of a work. Now let us talk about a little bit of microbial part. We are not specialized into the microbial aspect, but still with a few years of knowledge, we have been able to understand this phenomenon, and I would like to share you how it works. So basically for performing a bioautography, you need a good microbiological lab, a good autoclave system, your medias to growing bacteria, and a place where you can store this bacteria for estimation. Normally, there are two ways of doing this bioautography study. One which I already told you, we have the bacterial culture in the liquid form, and we are dipping the plate directly into the bacterial solution, removing it, giving some time for incubation. The incubation time is for the growing of the bacterial cell. Once the incubation period is closed, then you can find out whether you are getting zone of inhibition. Now, zone of inhibition, this is for antimicrobial assay. There are based on this technique, you can do many other assays. We'll go one by one. And here we are actually going deep into the bioautography part. So once we have got a good separation, we have got good separated bands, uh, um, we are clear about the identity, it's a phenol, and now I need to check. You have these approaches which is there. So first one over here, you can see what they have done is they have taken the plate, okay, and then first they have prepared excuse me, excuse me, they have taken string somewhat. They have taken the bacterial strain which they are interested in. There are many strains which are available, but with permission you have to do this. There are strains like Staphylococcus bacillus species is there, and I think so if you go for antimicrobial estimation, a group of 3 gram positive and 3 gram negative bacteria are present, which is you can find it at many websites. The popular ones which are not that virulent in nature or bacterial in nature, which can infect people, but they can be used for testing the function of antimicrobial activity. So you have to take those bacteria which is available at the respective providers. You have few national cell culture laboratories which are there, which have these bacteria with them. You purchase them, you get those bacteria at your place, you prepare the agar medium, you have to autoclave it. Now agar medium initially is in liquid form, you autoclave it, and once they are thoroughly mixed, autoclaved, you pour it, and once it solidifies, it becomes a thick bed of gel which has all the media for the bacteria to grow. You inoculate the bacteria on it with the help of a nichrome loop, with the help of streaking methodology. Then you allow the bacteria to grow, or else what you can do is directly in the agar media itself, when it is coming at a temperature which your hands can bear, at that time you inoculate it with the bacteria, and now pour it into a petri dish or a plate or a chamber which is not very much deep. Keep it covered and place your developed plate on top of it and close the lid. On the other side, you will be able to see the zone of inhibitions after the incubation period. After you close the lid, you have to keep it for some time for the bacteria to grow. When the bacteria grows, it interacts with the substances from the plate, and then if it is toxic, it will die and it will not grow. And what will happen is you will get a clear zone of inhibition onto that spot. So that becomes the identification part, that yes, this molecule has some potential antimicrobial activity, because of which there is no growth which is taking place, and from that you can identify whether it is antimicrobial in nature. The second one is a slightly different technique. In the second one, the right hand side which you see, it is a slightly different. Here what they have done is they have incorporated first the bacteria has been sprayed onto the plate. Normally dipping is much more advisable, but there are also papers where spraying has been used. So they spray with the microbial stain that is inoculated into a liquid broth. Now here it will be a liquid medium, there will be no agar, but they will add something else. I'm not recollecting the name, but they prepare a liquid broth which is there, which is having all the nutrients for the bacteria to grow, that is being sprayed onto the plate. And now the plate is being given time to inoculate, again incubate. So the same time, 3 to 4 hours, the bacteria grows over there. And in order to detect it, the presence, you don't see it visibly, but you use a dye, which is a tetrazolium salt, and you spray. So what will happen? The viable cells will be stained differently, and non-viable, that is alive, that is known as the viable. Non-viable is the cells which are dead. So the cells which are dead, they will take up the stain and they will get colored over there, whereas the live cells will restrain, they will not take up that color onto them. And thus from that you can identify that which zones are active, which spots are active, and which are non-active. So this is another type of type of determination where a spraying reagent, that is a dye, is being used to confirm the presence of bacteria instead of the first where you are visually seeing without any dye. Similarly, there are other aspects also where different types of dyes has been used. There you saw tetrazolium salt. On the left hand side here, you can see beta carotene. Beta carotene and a yellow orange stain it develops. Beta carotene is being used as an indicator. So you prepare at a ratio of 0.05% of beta carotene in chloroform. After you develop the plate, same way you dip it into the microbial culture, allow it to incubate, remove the plate, and now you spray it with this reagent, and then you will see the background is being discolored where the color is not taken up, but where the bacteria is alive, it will not take the color. Where the bacteria is dead, it will take up the color, and there it will give you the spot. So there you were going for zone of inhibition where no growth has happened. Here the growth has happened, but the cells have died because of coming into contact with the antimicrobial substance. So there are two different approaches, and that is why two different types of aspect are being used. So this can be studied. We will share with you all the papers which are there. And similarly, so many types of reactions have been done. Today, what we are going to see is the nominal DPPH activity for antioxidant determination, because we have limitations at our residential facility to have a microbiological lab. So we will be showing you that experiment. And there are so many types of reactions which are there. Similarly, there are so many papers. So I will just try to show you a few. Let me just switch over to the normal pointer. Excuse me. I have some cold, because of which I have a little bit of yeah. So this is the first paper by I hope you can see it. Let me see. Can you see this paper? Can anybody confirm me?
No, sir.
No. Okay, just a minute. Yeah, now you should be able to see the screen.
Yes.
Are you able to see the paper?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So this is the first paper which has been published in 2014, an old paper, and it tells you about different techniques that are being used for bioautography studies, how HPTLC can be done. It gives you a detailed description of how the procedure is there and what are the popular mechanisms of reaction that is happening when you go for a bioactivity study. So we will share this paper after this. So there you can see how it is being done. Now, in certain cases, the fractions of the bacterial cells are also taken. They are not the bacterial cells directly being used for the study, but fractions, and here is an example of the same. So this is a very famous paper on estrogenic activity that is there. So what has been done is the bacteria is being genetically modified to produce an enzyme which is responsible for Alzheimer activity, which is working on Alzheimer's, and if it is deactivated, the Alzheimer will not happen. That is the whole phenomenon. So what is happening is, with the help of this extract, they are developing it onto the plate, and directly after they have cultured the cell, they are isolating that enzyme with the help of a reaction, and then they are applying it onto the plate and seeing the result. So this is a type of an example where estrogenic activity is being determined. Now this was there is another paper which was done by our principals by Kemag, which was for beer, estrogenic activity in the beer, because of various sources that is being used to prepare the beer preparation. But that was just one aspect. You can use it for various different aspects also and find out. Similarly, you can see over here alpha beta glucosidase inhibition. This is also a very good phenomenon. It is used for anti-diabetic estimation. I repeat, anti-diabetic estimation without the using of organism, without the using of any human volunteer or animal volunteer. You can test them onto the plate itself and identify. What happens is, again, this enzyme is being in checked in, that is being cultured into a bacteria and isolated, or directly also. I have not gone into the details, but this is what the enzyme, it is revolving around the enzyme. So that enzyme is being used over here, and the inhibition of that enzyme will tell you whether the person will have an diabetes or it will be an anti-diabetic by nature. So like that, these are interesting papers. This is one of the paper which I showed you. Then there is another paper, I'll just show you over here also. This is by this is by an international author, and incidentally one of another papers by. So here also a detailed mechanism of how bioautography is done, contact, immersion, and direct. And this again is the process how detailed information is there, where you can look forward to learn a lot of bioautography. Then this is one direct application of how plant extracts are being screened for bioactivity. This is a foreign plant which is known for anti depression, what they have stated for. And then with the help of HPTLC and then going for the antioxidant estimation, they have been able to identify the activity of the plant. So this is one of the plant investigation studies. Antioxidant, one of the best uses of autobiography studies is use of antioxidant activity. Here bamboo species have been studied. These are the two components that have been investigated, and here is the detailed paper of it. And finally, we have a video, but I will skip the video as we'll see the demo itself. Maybe later on the part we'll see the video. And so these are some of the tools which our instrument has, and you can use it for getting the data. So this was about the entire concept of bioautography and HPTLC. And there are different aspects which should be considered when you are working on this, and use different tools. Then these are some of the aspects where we can monitor even the faintest spots. Now here, if you see, by default, by the human eye, you are able to see like this, but you are not able to see any of the bright spots, faint spots. But with the help of image correction, what happens is even the faint spots are distinctly visible, and from that you can identify what is causing that response. Then you have quantification, and definitely we would like invite all the authors to do some good work into this. And if you are lucky and your paper is being published, we have an international symposium being held every year. Of course, this is 18 and 19. After that, we had the lockdown, so it was not done. But Indian scientists are working on such aspects, and they are publishing papers. There's a platform where they publish this paper, and Anchrom assist in this. And so this is about this. This is our lab, which you'll be seeing shortly. And that's it from my side. You have our YouTube channels where you can ask your questions. Thank you being your technological partners. Now we will switch over to the practical aspect of this format of and understand one of the investigations of effect directed analysis. So I will just stop sharing my screen and now call in my subordinate, Mr. Vishwajit, to take over the session, and we'll start with the bioautography studies. Yeah, sir, I think so. My colleague has does not have the co-host, right? So if you can just due to
Sir, will you please tell us the device name?
device
Because
name, Vishwajit Kare is by name itself, you should be able to.
okay.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. I have made him co-host. Yes.
Yes, sir. Ulta, switch. Okay.
So hi there once again. I will be let's start. So just a minute. ते आपण कुठला एक्सपेरिमेंट करतो ते पण we have to explain. So, yeah.
Audible and visible. Good afternoon, all. I'm Vishwajit from Anchrom Laboratory. Saikat sir has given a brief presentation on HPTLC. Now I will show you the Anchrom Laboratory, HPTLC specific R&D center in Mulund, Mumbai. So this is our entrance and reception at Anchrom Laboratory. You can see all awards and all conferences we are attending in here. And this is the entry of our laboratory. Sir, please come with me. So these are two conference rooms. Here we are taking lectures on HPTLC and we are giving training, pre-trainings to industry personnel, government laboratory employees, all postgraduate students, researchers and all HPTLC stakeholders. We have capacity of 20 students at a time in our facility or 20 participants. But due to some COVID restrictions nowadays, we request you to contact us for training well in advance so that we can arrange the best possible training program for you. So, sir, please come with me. This is our library here. All reference books you can see which required for literature survey, detailed literature survey in HPTLC method development because of this library and all the literature available with us, specially dedicated to this single technique. From last 40 years, we able to develop new methods and we able to separate challenging compounds from complex sample matrices.
Can you show a few books?
Yes.
To
in this regard, I would like to show some phytochemical reference standards and all the related HPTLC methods from regulatory bodies like ICMR. Then
yes,
I'd like to show Dr. Prem Kumar Jaiswal sir book for HPTLC in food analysis. Then we have
handbook
of thin layer chromatography, Joseph Sharma and Bernard Pride. All the important literature required to do TLC, HPTLC and related analysis, we have all that reference available with us. For more complex sample analysis, we are always sitting here and taking references of many books together and be able to develop new methods.
So the first step is to do a thorough literature review as right?
Yes, yes.
So we start from here and identify what is the aim of that study. And then accordingly, if the person is stating that alkaloids are there in my plant, then we will focus and study on this part, that whether literature has stated anything and things like that. And from there we start and then we move further, right?
Yes, because literature survey, sample preparation are the key factors before any chromatographic or spectroscopic analysis. We should have to do proper literature survey, whether any method is available already in literature, we can use that. We can check the solubility by using Merck index, etc. Because proper sample preparation, without that, whatever we are applying on plate or in whatever we are inserting into chromatographic system, we can able to separate molecules from that sample only. So we need to enrich our samples. We need to prepare our samples very properly so that we will get final results in a fine way. Yeah. So this is entry of our laboratory. We have different zones dedicated to do each and every training step. So we have training area here. Then innovation area. In innovation area, we have kept the latest development in planar chromatography, that is HPTLC Pro. Then we have R&D and weight laboratory there. Then some safety measures we are taking while doing analysis in laboratory. So we have weight laboratory and only CAMAG HPTLC dedicated R&D center here. So we are entering into innovation area of Anchrom laboratory in
Can you show
Mumbai.
stationary phase? And
Yes, yes. So here you can see all CAMAG HPTLC modules. And as sir told, it is a modular system. There are different modules allotted to perform each step involved in HPTLC analysis. So in this demonstration, I will show you the DPPH assay. So that is useful to find out and detect antioxidant compounds from our sample matrix. So we have already developed one plate today morning, and along with that, I will show live applications and plate development, and we will discuss and conclude the results after completion of one complete analysis. So I will start from stationary phase selection right from plate, because whatever separation is going on, all the analysis is going on is on HPTLC plate or TLC plate. That is a stationary phase, because in chromatography there are two phases, stationary phase and mobile phase. So as per the chemistry of our molecule of interest, analyte in our hand, we need to select a suitable stationary phase. So I will start with stationary phase selection. There we have weight laboratory area. We are keeping all the plates and stationary phases over there. So sir, please come with me. I will show you different plates and how we are cutting the plates, selecting the stationary phase. So these type of boxes are there. These are plates, TLC and HPTLC plates. We are purchasing from Merck. There are different manufacturers of TLC and HPTLC plates. And I would like to say there are more than 50 different types of stationary phases available. You can select as per the chemistry of interest. And normal phase chromatography, reverse phase HPTLC also you can perform. Reverse phase plates are also available. Cyano-modified, amino-modified plates are available. Most water-resistant plates are also available in the market. So more than 50 different types of stationary phases available. But most of the time HPTLC is going on normal phase plates, that is TLC or HPTLC plates, having 5 microns to 10 microns particle size. So as per the sensitivity of analysis in interest, we can select a 10 microns particle size plate or 5 microns particle size plate for better resolution. So this is plate box. Here they have written TLC silica gel 60F254. So these are normal phase TLC plates having 10 microns particle size with added indicator into silica material while coating the plate. So these are pre-coated plate by Merck. We can design and order as per our requirement by catalog numbers by Merck. So this is 1.0555 for TLC silica gel normal phase plate. There are many different types available. So this is 1.0559 reverse phase TLC silica gel plate also available. These plates are coated with silica gel along with C18 hydrocarbons, which are non-polar in nature. So we can make our stationary phase more non-polar than mobile phase. Reverse phase HPTLC also we can perform. So this stage we have prepared having capacity of 20 by 20 centimeter dimension plate cutting. So any plate lesser than that size we can cut on this surface. So before any analysis, we are selecting plate, and for cost effective methods and most fast and accurate analysis, we are always preferring first a TLC normal phase plates, which are very cheap in cost. So we are always trying to develop very cost effective method by keeping Indian market in mind, by keeping all other requirement and laboratories in mind. So this plate is already cut. So these plates are available in 20 by 20 centimeter dimension. So we can cut that plate by using a simple paper cutter, and scale and pencil, we can mark exact 20 by 10 or 10 by 10 or 5 by 10 dimensions on plate, and we can cut the plate into 2 parts or 4 parts. But we are always recommending cut the plate in the uh, dimensions of 5 by 10 or 10 by 10 in the intervals of 5 centimeters. So you can utilize whole plate properly, and you can achieve optimized separation and good separation. And always use a simple paper cutter. Don't use scissors, because scissors will disturb your stationary phase while cutting the plate. And always wear hand gloves while handling the plate. Just imagine that in column chromatography, you are handling your column in open. So this is again open planar stationary phase in your hand. So handle it very carefully with hand gloves, and don't keep your finger onto the plate from sides. You can handle the plate properly. After cutting the plate properly, you need to label the plate, because labeling is very important in analytical chemistry and in any analysis. If you are doing labeling properly, it is very easy to mine data after completion of analysis. We are marking the solvent front, because in today's analysis, I will show you the manual development. We have development modules available which will automatically develop the plate up to desired distance and take out the plate after development automatically. So in that case, we not required to mark the solvent front position, but here I'm manually putting the solvent front position here, and I'm giving name DPPH assay we will do on today's plate. So I'm using date also in labeling of the plate, because dates are very much unique. You can trace back the analysis file and plate anytime. So I have selected the stationary phase. Uh, I have cut the plate as per dimensions required. Then I have labeled the plate solvent front position at 2 sides by soft hand by using pencil and scale, normal metal scale. So this is about stationary phases available. Merck, Kesselnager, etc. Different manufacturers are available. One question I saw in a chat box during PPT, can we do more polar compounds on HPTLC? Definitely, we can select RP18 plates, and we can do reverse phase HPTLC also for polar compounds. So after selecting suitable stationary phase, I will show next steps involved in analysis. So this is complete HPTLC system and different modules of HPTLC by CAMAC. And all these modules are connected to centralized server PC. So this is server PC connected to all modules by LAN cables. All modules are already switched on and connected to this software centralized server PC. And this system is having client server based architecture. So we can connect one HPTLC system with one server PC, and that server PC we can connect to many other PCs, many other clients. So many other users can operate this one single HPTLC system at the same time. But when one module is engaged at that time, they can't use, any other user can't use that module. But after completion of that modular step, another person can operate that module easily. So in this HPTLC system, this is sample applicator, HPTLC applicator. This is called as ATS4, Automatic TLC Sampler 4 by CAMAC with auto sampler tray. And it is working on spray-on technique. We are using compressed air or nitrogen gas to generate a very fine spray of our liquid sample. So in HPTLC, we are dealing with liquid samples. We need to prepare sample in liquid form. We require hardly a few microliters of sample for HPTLC analysis. Clear liquid transparent sample solution is preferable, because we are using these syringes in HPTLC applicators. It is possible that this syringe will get chalked because of turbidity or particles. So during sample preparation, prepare your sample in such a way that it should be clear liquid transparent solution, whether colorless and or colorful, it doesn't matter, but it should be clear without suspension, without turbidity and particles. For that, we are preparing centrifugation or filtration. After that, this is ATS4 along with auto sampler tray. This tray we can accommodate at a time 66 vials in this tray, and in each vial we can fill 1.5 to 2 milliliters of our sample, and positions are given A1, A2, A3, B1, B2, B3. Total 66 vials we can keep, and we as per our requirement from any suitable vial, the syringe will go in that and it will take the sample and apply on plate. And here there are two bottles are given. This one bottle is filled with methanol. Methanol is like universal solvent in which many compounds are soluble. So we are using methanol in daily practice to clean and rinse the syringe. So from this methanol, this syringe will automatically get rinsed, and after application of one sample from one vial, syringe cleaning is automatic. Then syringe filling with that second sample is also automatic. And after peeling and rinsing the syringe will go onto the plate and apply the exact volume of that sample on plate. So this is a stage on which we need to keep our plate properly. So this is compatible for 20 by 20 or less than that, any dimension of the plate. So on this stage, I'm keeping my plate which I have marked already. With pencil, I have marked solvent front up to 70 millimeters. Then that application position I kept at this side in ATS4. And now I have already kept all the samples here, which we are going to analyze today for detecting antioxidant compounds in that samples. So I have kept 3 samples over here in this position.
What are the samples?
Samples are like some plant samples like Umbilica officinalis, etc., which are because I wanted to show you positive results. So we have selected some good plants which contains antioxidant compounds.
Any reference?
We have used reference like ICMR, and we have used HPTLC association methods. We are applying gallic acid standards along with Umbilica officinalis to find out the bioactivity, because gallic acid is having very good antioxidant properties and that is present in Umbilica officinalis. Definitely we can observe some bands after DPPH assay, which will give us positive results and antioxidant compounds. So we have kept that samples and standards over here, and this tubing is coming out from compressed air we are using in our lab. We can use nitrogen gas also, which will remain neutral during application. By using this gas pressure action, this syringe will generate very fine spray, and that spray will fall onto the plate in the form of bands. We are applying the samples, and it is contactless application by using spray-on technique. So this is all about sample applicator in HPTLC CAMAG ATS4 automatic TLC sampler. There is another one sample applicator which is semi-automatic, where we need to rinse and fill the syringe in between manually. Otherwise, again, it can operate through software also. So this is ATS4. We will start sample application shortly during demonstration of software. So I will start that later onwards. We have kept the plate ready for sample application. Then after sample application, we need to develop the plate into mobile phase. For that, we can use different types of chambers, automatic development chamber or manual chamber also. So for that chromatographic development, we have this CAMAG ADC2 automatic developing chamber with humidity control option. So this is CAMAG ADC2 development chamber. If we see, this is coming with this twin trough chamber having dimension 20 by 10. So any plate having dimension 20 by 10 or less than that, we can keep in this chamber and we can develop in this chamber. So if we keep this chamber here along with saturation pad, and if we hang the plate here at the upper part of this ADC2, we need to hang our plate here. If I'm using 20 by 10 centimeter plate, so this is hanger given for glass plates to hang the plate at the top assembly. So magnets are given. These magnets will automatically stick to this surface, and plate will remain at the upper portion of this ADC2. I'm closing this upper part. I have kept already twin trough chamber with saturation pad we need to keep, and we need to close this twin trough chamber from upper side with this assembly given at the top. So after closing the chamber, here we need to fill the mobile phase already prepared. In isochromatic mode, it will develop the plate. 10 milliliter mobile phase we need to add from here for development, and 25 milliliters of mobile phase we required for chamber saturation. So that we need to pour from this side. So just keep the twin trough chamber here with a saturation pad. Just hang your plate, pour in the mobile phases, and this jar is fitted in this ADC2. This jar contains the saturated salt solution of MgCl2 hexahydrate or any potassium acetate, etc. Salt solutions we can fill, saturated solution we can fill in this jar, and this is required for humidity control of this chamber during chromatographic development. So we can maintain exact 33% humidity of this chamber during chromatographic development. That is requirement as per USP chapter 203 for botanical origin material analysis in HPTLC. So for controlling any other percentage of humidity, we can fill this jar with any other salt solution. We can fill this jar with molecular sieves also to control humidity exactly at 0% during chromatographic development, because humidity also plays very vital role in development. If our stationary phase contains more molecules of water on plate, it will be more polar and it will be like more partition plus adsorption chromatography. If we control the percentage of water molecule on plate during development, it will be more adsorption chromatography, and in more controlled environment, we can achieve reproducible results plate to plate and day to day, lab to lab. That is possible with ADC2 only, not in manual development. That humidity control option is not there in manual development. So after giving command from software, this is software control. We just need to hang plate here, keep the chamber here, pour in the mobile phase, and give command from the software. So plate drying after chromatographic development is automatic. Automatic solvent front monitoring system is also there. Sensor is given which will sense the wet portion of the plate. After reaching exact 70 mm or 80 mm solvent front, whatever given in software, it will take out the plate from the chamber automatically. And plate drying is also user independent and automatic in ADC2. So for reproducible results, plate to plate, day to day in control environment, we need to use ADC2, CAMAG ADC2. So this is all about chromatographic development module ADC2. So we have another option available with us. I will show you that manual development chambers we have kept in wet laboratory area. So these are CAMAG twin trough chambers, specially designed by CAMAG and made in single molded glass material. So universally you will get same dimensions and same material. So if you are using these twin trough chambers always, so you can generate reproducible results plate to plate, day to day, lab to lab. That is possible. So there are two troughs inside. One hump is there which will divide this chamber into two troughs. So one trough we are using for chamber saturation and another trough we are using for chromatographic development. So here you can see this is coming in three different dimensions: 10 by 10 centimeter, 20 by 10 centimeter, and 20 by 20 centimeter. For one single plate development, 10 by 10 centimeter plate development, only 10 milliliters of mobile phase is required. For 20 by 10 centimeter plate development, 20 milliliter of mobile phase is required. And for bigger plates, for 20 by 20 centimeter plates, only 35 milliliter of mobile phase is required. So that is the key factor in HPTLC. We are not consuming more volumes of solvents like chloroform, methanol, etc., which are very much toxic towards environment. So we are not using higher volumes of that. So it is eco-friendly technique, and solvent cost, it is reducing drastically. So if we see the only 35 milliliters of mobile phase is required to analyze 15 to 20 samples on bigger plates, and only 20 milliliters of mobile phase is required for analysis of 15 to 20 samples on 20 by 10 plate. So that is the key factor. If we think about column chromatography, where 1 ml per minute will be the flow, if we run the column for 100 minutes, so 100 milliliters of mobile phase we are consuming. So in HPTLC, that is the key factor. Very less solvent for chromatographic development is required. So this is about manual development of the plate. Twin trough chambers, Camac twin trough chambers we can use. This is not like any other flat bottom chamber where more volume of mobile phase is required to develop the plate, and no control on development and saturation is there in flat bottom chambers. And we can't achieve reproducible results plate to plate if we use a flat bottom chamber with not fixed methodology. We can't develop reproducible results. This was about manual development. We have other development option available with us also, that is gradient type of HPTLC development, plate development we can do. For that we can use AMD2, automated multiple development module by Camac. Here gradient type of HPTLC we can perform. At a time 5 different solvents we can keep in these 5 different bottles given, or in a single bottle we can keep mixture of 2-3 solvents. Different mobile phases we can put in these bottles. And here in this chamber you need to hang the 20 by 10 or less than that any dimension of the plate, glass plate or aluminum plate. You need to hang here in this chamber. This is completely closed chamber with vacuum, and it is software control. After giving command from software, plate development will start. As per the gradient program, this MD2 will develop the plate up to desired distance, given distance, with single mobile phase or single solvent. So we can change the polarity of mobile phase during chromatographic development. We can use more polar solvents first, and then for development up to next distance we can use more non-polar solvents. So whatever compounds remaining at application position, we can separate all the compounds from position by changing the polarity of the mobile phase during development. In column chromatography, the gradient program is based on retention time, but in HPTLC, the gradient program is based on distance traveled by solvent. So that distance is always greater than earlier. So suppose we want to develop the plate with methanol up to 20 millimeters first. So it will automatically develop the plate with methanol up to 20. Then it will dry the plate automatically. Then again in next step, we want to develop the plate up to 30 millimeter with toluene. It will develop the plate with toluene up to 30 mm and dry the plate automatically after development. In third step, so like that we can go up to 25 steps in gradient program setting, or more than that also as per our R&D requirement. So all the components from polar to non-polar we can able to set. There is one very good application node developed by Camac for separation of phospholipids by using MD2 gradient type of HPTLC. So this was about isocratic automatic development, manual development, as well as gradient type of automatic development chamber in Camac HPTLC systems. So after sample application and chromatographic development, there is a next step involved in HPTLC analysis, that is photo documentation or visualization. So Camac TLC Visualizer 2 is the ultimate solution to capture the plate images under different illuminations. So we can capture the plate image under UV light, white light, as well as fluorescent light. There is a highly sensitive industrial grade camera fitted inside this visualizer, and there are 3 lamps to illumine any desired wavelength in UV region or visible region or fluorescent region. So on the stage of this CAMAG visualizer 2, we can keep 20 by 20 or less than that any dimension of the plate, and we can close this shutter, and this is again connected to software. After giving command from software, it will illumine any desired lamp automatically, and after illuminating that lamp, it will automatically capture the plate image and it will come in our software for further interpretations. So in our final analysis report, our plate image will come automatically in 3 different illuminations. So as per the requirement, we can select the lamp. Suppose aflatoxins and secondary metabolites of Aspergillus fungi, that mycotoxins are fluorescent in nature, or some flavonoids showing antioxidant properties are fluorescent. So we can capture the image under 366 nanometer. Some molecules are having UV absorption only, so we can capture the image under 254 nanometer UV light. So for controlled image capturing and photo documentation, we can use this TLC visualizer. And I would like to say that many pharma industries like Cipla, then Zydus, then Sun Pharma or Lupin, they are having this CAMAC TLC visualizer with controlled environment, CGLP, CGMP environment. This is completely 21 CFR Rule 11 compliant with the software. So for image capturing after TLC or HPTLC, we can use CAMAC TLC visualizer. So I have shown you different modules available for application, development, then photo documentation. Now in this series, I would like to show you this CAMAC scanner, TLC scanner. This is heart of HPTLC for quantitative analysis, spectrum analysis. We required CAMAC TLC scanner. Again, there are 3 lamps fitted in this scanner, deuterium, tungsten, and mercury, which will generate illumination from 190 nanometer to 900 nanometer. But this scanner contains monochromator, grating as a monochromator, which will chop out any desired single wavelength. So single wavelength analysis is possible by using CAMAC scanner. Suppose we want to quantify caffeine in green tea, and the lambda max value of caffeine is 276 nanometer. So by using scanner, we can generate 276 nanometer, and we can scan the plate and find out exact quantity of caffeine in green tea. So as per the lambda max of any compound of interest, we can select that lambda max by using TLC scanner, or we can say densitometer, as sir explained in presentation. We can scan the plate and go for quantitative analysis. Suppose we want to find out absorption properties of separated molecules. So we can capture absorption spectra of that molecule from 190 nanometer to 900 nanometer easily by using this CAMAC scanner code. The operation is very simple. Just open the shutter of scanner. It is software control connected to VisionCat software, latest software. Keep a 20 by 20 or any lesser dimension plate on the stage and close this shutter. And it is all the parameters you can set in software, and you can generate chromatograms, spectra, etc. And calculations are also automatic, that I will show you during software operation. Okay, sir.
Okay. So now let us see the software part.
Yes, for showing the software part, I will directly attach my cell phone to server PC or any client PC. So I will use Dr. Saikat sir PC to share the screen with VisionCat software, and to show you the live sample analysis and analysis file in VisionCat software. But missed one part in this complete demonstration, that HPTLC Pro. So this is latest innovation by CAMAC HPTLC Pro system. there are two modules, sample applicator as well as chromatographic development module. It is fitted together. Just we can keep 5 plates here in plate holder stack, and one all 5 plates will go inside this HPTLC Pro automatically, and after development we can conclude the results in software. So it is completely automatic and online system. For development, we can use 3 different mobile faces at a time. For application, we can keep 75 different samples at a time in auto sampler tray. So this is compatible with only 20 by 10 centimeter plates. For bigger quality control laboratories across the world, if well-set HPTLC methods are available, they can fully utilize CAMAG HPTLC Pro. Full-fledged system will come by 2022. But this is system Asia's first HPTLC Pro system from our Anchrom laboratory. We have installed this system in 2019 for demo purpose to our customers. Okay. Now I will start with software part, software explanation and analysis.
Yes. Hello, sir. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Now I would like to show a demonstration of. I like to show analysis file from software. I will share the screen. Okay. I hope my screen is visible, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. So I have double clicked on VisionCAD software app option on the PC screen. Then I'm entering my login details. So after entering your login details, this is the first look of CAMAG HPTLC software latest version, that is VisionCAD's 3.1 software. This is first look and first window of this software. Here you can see all the folders containing data. This is home symbol. After clicking on this home symbol, you can see all the folders prepared in this software, all the analysis done, analysis file, method files, as well as comparison viewer files. You can see by opening these folders, and we have named these folders as per the project numbers. And here there are 3 lines at the upper most corner at left hand side. By clicking on these 3 lines, you many options will open up: new, then file, edit, tags, tools, options, help, etc. This software is very much well animated and user friendly. Data mining and all other automatic calculations is very easy in this latest version. And this is completely compliant with 21 CFR Rule 11. We can use this software in CGLP, CGMP environment also. So I have already prepared one folder by project number that is 2122-109 internal project number. So in that I have already prepared one analysis file. This capital A in blue color represent analysis file. I will open up that analysis file, or instead that I'll prepare new analysis file from already developed method file. I will execute this method file already prepared, and I will prepare new analysis file. So I have prepared new analysis file. In that already selected different steps right from image capturing. So we will capture the plate image, blank plate image. We will check whether our plate is okay for further analysis. After that, we can use a sample applicator here. We have used Linomat 5, that is semi-automatic. I can add completely automatic uh, applicator also in the step. Then we will again capture the plate image after sample application if required, but that is not required right now. We'll directly go for chromatographic development by selecting development chamber here. Then we will capture the plate image and we can go for further scanning. So you can see this first look of the software in HPTLC steps. There are 4 different steps involved. Steps: application, development, derivatization, detection. So for application, 3 to 4 options available. Development, again 4 options. For derivatization, again 4 options. And for detection, we have CAMAC scanner 4, scanner 3, or TLC visualizer, or HPTLC Pro hyperspectral imaging. That is new concept expected to come in market by 2022. So we can select each every important step here. And this is customizable. How user friendly it is, you can see. Just suppose if I miss something to add in this sequence, I can add that part later on also in incomplete steps. So after selecting all steps involved in my analysis, I'll click on this finish step definition. So here you can see, first of all, I should have to keep the plate inside visualizer. So it will capture the plate image and it will show us whether our plate is clean or not. After that, we need to fill all the plate layout parameters. That is plate manufacturer name, stationary phase, material, coating material. There are more than 50 different types of plates available. Then plate format 20 by 20 or less than that, any format we can select, or we can customize these dimensions 5 by 10 or 2 by 10, any dimensions in which we have cut our plate, we can fill here. Application type, that is spot wise, band wise, etc. we can select, but in HPTLC we are always recommending to go for band wise sample application. Then Y position, X position, that is all dealing with the first band application from bottom and one corner of the plate. And distance between track we can control. As per USP chapter 203, the distance between track should be always more than 10 millimeters. So 11.4 is by default parameters in VisionCAD software. Then solvent front position, we can run the plate up to 70 millimeters or 80 millimeters as per our requirement. So all the plate layout and sequence we can set here. Then I'm pressing OK. If any note I wanted to add, I will write that note here. I will write demonstration here. So that note will come in our final analysis report. So plate layout we have selected. Then we need to select a sample solvent type in ATS4 applicator, because as per the solvent type, it will adjust the speed of sample application on plate by using sample applicators. So if we select water as a solvent type, it will apply slowly on the plate, because aqueous samples having more affinity towards silica plates. So it will apply 50 nanoliter per second on plate. If I select methanol, it will apply 150 nanoliter per second on plate. So sample solvent type we need to fill carefully. So any sample prepared in any solvent like water, acetone, methanol, we can apply on plate by using applicator, and we can fill the type here. Then for development, which chamber we are using, that we need to mention here. Then mobile phase we need to write here in global list. Then after chromatographic development, we need to capture the plate image under different illuminations. So in reflectance white light, reflectance UV light, or fluorescent light, we can capture the image. Reflectance plus transmittance option is also available for capturing glass plate images. Then in scanner, CAMAC scanner 4, we can use this scanner for single wavelength analysis, multi-wavelength analysis, or spectrum analysis. So for single wavelength analysis, if you want to use, we can select scanner type for single wavelength. Then slit dimensions we need to adjust properly. That is all technical parameters involved in scanner assembly optical path. I'll not go deep into that, but different lamps are available to select different illumination zones. Like deuterium lamp, if we select, it will generate UV light from 190 to 450 nanometer. If we select tungsten lamp, it will generate an illum white light from 400 to 900 nanometer. If we select mercury lamp, we can select these 13 different discrete wavelengths from fluorescent light. So this is about all scanner parameters. Now I will show you already done analysis file here. So here in this analysis, we have applied total 5 bands on plate with sample 1, sample 2, and sample 3 having different volumes on plate. So this sequence we can make, and we can give command from software to applicator. Applicator will apply all the desired microliter volume on the plate by taking it from suitable vial position given. So this analysis is already done. You can see this green color tick mark on every step. So after selecting all HPTLC steps, I have executed all the steps involved in this analysis. Then I received data. In data, you can see this is the plate image under UV light after chromatographic development. This is plate image under white light, and this is plate image under 366 nanometer fluorescent light. I'll put RF value tool. I will put labels on plate image, then track number, application volume, all we can mention here. By using RF tip, we can find out in situ RF value. Just by one click, it will show us RF value of that separated band, that is 0.88. Or we can enhance or intensify the band color. So for trace sample analysis, this enhance option is available. Spot amplification is available. We can do white balance also, or we can reset all the parameters. We can export this plate image for further processing in core research, research paper writing and all. These tools and options are very much important and convenient for researchers to publish more and more research papers with good impact factors. So in data, we can see all plate images under different illuminations. This plate image we have captured after dipping the plate under DPPH reagent, that is diphenyl picaryl hydrazine reagent prepared in ethanol, because a DPPH reagent is having a free radical scavenging activity. So suppose any band separated on plate is having antioxidant properties, that band will reduce the DPPH, and after reduction, that DPPH will again show colorless zone. So if we prepare DPPH in ethanol, it is like violet solution. But after dipping the plate into that violet solution, the bands present on plate are responsible for reduction of that DPPH reagent, and the band having antioxidant property will show us colorless zone over there, or pale yellow color or yellowish creamy color zone over there. and we can find out the different antioxidant compounds present. So here we have applied single standards only. Suppose if any plant is having many different antioxidant compounds present. So I will show one previously done analysis to find out activity antioxidant bands. If I label this plate properly, so we have applied Embolica officinalis samples over here along with gallic acid standards, and along with Embolica officinalis another sample. So there are different zones showing colorless bands or off-white or yellowish color bands here at 0.12 RF value, at 0.27 RF value, or at this RF value. So that many bands are present means that many antioxidant properties compounds are present in our sample, we can conclude. So this is for tentative antioxidant studies, and this is very much cost effective, fast and rapid sensitive method. Instead of using UV visible spectrophotometry to find out total antioxidant compounds, we can go for specific detection of each and every antioxidant compound present in our sample. So that is a very good solution for researchers. Nowadays, the focus is more on natural products containing flavonoids, carotenes, etc., antioxidant compound. So we can screen that and analyze that by using HPTLC and DPPH studies. So this is a first view, and data mining is very easy. If I just type DPPH here, I can see all the data in which we have used DPPH word. Here we have done analysis of different flavonoids. We have separated that flavonoids on plate, and we have dipped the plate into DPPH reagent for further detection of activities. Now, if we want to compare any single track from this plate with other track, we can simply export that particular track into comparison viewer file, and we can stack many fingerprints on the same screen as shown in the presentation by Dr. Saikat sir. So I think we have shown all the applicators and all the modules involved in HPTLC system, and I have shown you the use of VisionCat software in very short time. So they, definitely this will tell you the fastness of the technique and user friendliness of the technique. Now I would like to hand over the mic and session to Dr. Saikat sir again. That's it from my side in demonstration part.
Thank you so much, Dr. Malik sir, for such an informative session on HPTLC bioautography studies. And also, I like to thank to Vishwajit Kale sir for beautiful demonstration of CAMAG HPTLC system. Now, with your due permission, sir, shall we move on to the question answer session?
Sure, ma'am. Let's
okay.
move on.
First question is from Mr. Satish Meshram sir. The question is how to perform the metabolomic profiling by using HPTLC.
So metabolomic profiling is a very vast concept, and the outcome, that is after the metabolism study has been done. So you can compare it at different stages. Like if you are seeing from the plant, you can do is you can have the plant sample at different time points, or the process of reaction at different time points, and then you can study the content conversion that is there, and from that the studies can be done. We'll find out few papers which could help you out, and if we could share the email address, we will be happy to share those papers with you. So I request ma'am to please send us the email address of the sir, so that we can share the papers for his reference.
Sure, sir.
Thank
Next couple of questions from Dr. Priya ma'am. What is the best method of analysis for monosaccharides?
Yeah.
And yes.
Yeah.
And one more question is whether highly polar compounds be analyzed accurately by HPTLC?
Yeah. So the first question, monosaccharides, we have HPTLC methodology, which is there. There's a mobile phase with 0.3 normal phosphoric acid, which is being used. I will share the details. And in that, we get a very good separation. Especially in recent times, we had separated from honey. And we were checking for adulteration of simple sugars like rice brown syrup and that, which are sucrose and things like that, monosaccharides. So we can adopt those methods. It's a very beautiful technique, and I will share the details. The second question was stating the, I just missed the second question. Can you repeat, ma'am?
Yes, sir. Second question is whether highly polar compounds be analyzed accurately by HPTLC.
Yeah. So highly polar compounds can be analyzed on HPTLC is depending upon the Dalton, that is the kilodalton size of the molecule. Normally around 13 kilodalton size molecules we are able to do easily on HPTLC system, and you can work with reverse phase chromatography. You can refer the literature. Mostly we do not come across such samples, but polar samples of a limited size can be amino acids, can be done on normal phase, no issue. Even a few plates on cellulose plate, many of the research work has been done. So like that, if we get the details, we can help specifically which molecule are you working on. Based on that, we can provide you the inputs. So again, similarly, if you can provide us the details at lab@anchrom.in, we will be able to help you out.
Thank you, sir. One more question from Dr. Sneha Chandani, ma'am. Can you throw some light on HPTLC bioautography for anaerobic microbes?
For anaerobic microbes. Okay. So again, we'll have to do some literature work right now, because we don't have any data ready which I can state on how to use the anaerobic bacteria. But as per my knowledge, the media is slightly different for anaerobic bacteria, and maybe a COD incubator will be required for the process of growth of the bacteria. That, so instead of incubating in a normal incubator, you can use a COD incubator for anaerobic bacteria, and after you have coated the plate with the bacterial solution, just place the plate in a COD incubator, and that should take care of the anaerobic bacteria growth, which can again be used for detection.
Thank you, sir. One more question from Dr. Ram, sir. Question is bioautography possible with glass TLC plate only?
Bioautography can be done with aluminum and glass plates. Normally, we recommend glass plates because of the quantification errors which people go through. Because manually, see, when the person is cutting an aluminum plate, he or she may by mistakenly or may cut in not a perfect format of 20/10 or things. So that is why glass plates come in standard size. So we recommend them. But otherwise, there is no specific reason for recommending glass plate over aluminum plate. It is purely based on the accuracy part. So if the person is very good in cutting of aluminum plates, he or she may go for aluminum plates also for all these kinds of estimation. Absolutely no issues.